The Foundation Fighting Blindness. Together, we're winning. Help us end blinding diseases at fightingblindness.org.
Looking for a nurturing environment where your child can thrive this school year? You belong here. At Catholic schools, we offer pre-K and kindergarten programs focusing on faith and academic excellence. Whether you're the family of a child or an educator looking to thrive and help teach our future leaders, you'll find your place here in a supportive environment where faith and learning go hand in hand. Catholic schools, faith-focused, family-centered. You belong here. Discover more at lovemyschool.com. Tuition assistance available.
They say health is wealth, and I could not agree more. That's why if you or somebody in your life is living with everyday aches and pains, I want to tell you about Relief Factor. And I'm telling you, I can feel the difference. Relief Factor is a daily supplement that helps fight pain naturally. Naturally. Now that's a big deal. Developed by doctors. Relief Factor's unique formula of ingredients all work together to help support your body's response to inflammation. Instead of masking pain for a couple of hours, Relief Factor actually helps reduce or even eliminate your pain for good. Whether it's neck, back, joint, or muscle pain, if you're looking to feel better, live better, give Relief Factor a try. In 3 weeks, you will know if it's working because you'll feel it. For instance, I was sent Relief Factor to try, and I've been taking it every single day. I'll tell you what, I feel the difference every day. Go to relieffactor.com or call 1-800-4RELIEF. That's 1-800-4-RELIEF. Save on your first order. Don't let pain tell you how to live. Fight back naturally with Relief Factor. These products and statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. These products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease or condition.
If you're looking to get a new car, you could really cut expenses by bundling your car and renter's insurance with Progressive. Sure, you love your old car, but you know it's not normal to give instructions on how to open the window. It should be self-explanatory, but it's not. And notice how when you're in other people's cars, you can feel cushion in the seats? That's pretty nice, right? No, it's just normal. So bundle your renters and car insurance with Progressive and put the savings toward a new car. It's time. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company coverage provided and serviced by affiliates and third-party insurers. Not available in all states.
1620 The Zone.
And the pitch is swung on, and that's hit deep to right field. That is way back, and that ball is history. A no-doubter for Josh Smith. Keep the true outcomes coming. With a 2-run homer, it's 2-0 Texas in the first. Here's the pitch. A swing and a drive deep to right field. Back goes Luperfido at the wall. That ball is history. It's a 2-home-run game for Josh Smith. He's doing it by himself. The Rangers lead 4-1.
Live from 50th and Capitol Avenue in the Big O. This is Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone, 1620thezone.com, and 1620 The Zone TV. Now here's Gary, Nick, and Jimmy.
I just got 3 things to say. God bless our troops. God bless America. And gentlemen, start your engine!
Good morning, everybody. We are live. We are local. We are kicking off another week of Mornings with Sharp and Handley and Jimmy on the 15th of July. Some might say it's a little swampy in the Big O.
Could smell the heat.
You know what? It's hotter outside than it is in my place.
Oh, well,
both of them.
Did AC ever
only, go on? No. It is only 82.
Ooh. Oh,
yeah.
Okay. Did the AC get turned on? Because the heat wasn't as bad as advertised.
No, I have not turned the air on. Will not turn the air on today.
Yeah.
I've managed the blinds and the ceiling fan perfectly. It's actually not bad. I may have sweated a little bit last night sleeping.
I hope so. I hope at least you did that. Otherwise, I would be a little worried that maybe you need to get checked out.
Just excited. 4 days away.
But it does feel a little bit swampy outside.
Just in time for the SEC media days.
Yeah. When you hear the word corn sweats.
Ooh. I get meat sweats. I hear meat sweats.
I've heard of corn sweats.
Do you put your meat on the timeline very often?
I try not. Well, I try not to put my meat on the timeline.
Very polarizing thing is when you put your meat on the timeline, people like to pick it apart.
Yeah, they critique your meat.
Lincoln Riley you.
Don't tweet your meat.
Yeah, don't tweet your meat. But I heard corn sweats this weekend, but a very swampy outside. Another day of excessive heat. So be smart before we, I guess, have cooler temperatures.
Oh, yeah.
My
80.
gosh.
Beautiful week.
We live in middle America in the middle of the summer. Oh, my gosh. And we're halfway through July, which doesn't sound right. So welcome in, everybody. We got a busy show. First, I got some things to discuss. But first, let me give you the lineup for the show. It's brought to you by the rooferys at John Higgins Weather Guard. It is the All-Star break. The Home Run Derby is tonight. Alec Boehm, pride of Omaha, Ron Colley is in it. Bobby Witt Jr. I've got my picks.
Jose Ramirez. Why'd you leave him out?
I mean, I can't go through all of them.
Yeah.
I mean,
you got to have reason to watch.
You
Polar
mentioned
Bear.
the local guy. You mentioned your second rooting interest when it comes to teams right now, right?
So I'm doing within the 500-mile radius.
Oh.
Yeah. That's how we're operating today.
I see. Okay.
Good morning, listener Matt.
Didn't just wear this hat for nothing.
Well, you should be very proud.
And for my Aussie mate, too.
Well, you should be very happy at 58-37.
I'm happy about that. Break. I was happy about Travis Bazzana.
Yeah. It was a Major League Baseball draft. There was a local connection. We will get to that. Millard West is celebrating today as Tyson Lewis joins his dad as being drafted. If you missed that late last night. But the lineup is brought to you by the rooferys at John Higgins Weather Guard. The All-Star game is in BWJ's hometown in Arlington, Texas. That's what I'm just going to call him. Dude, he's a dude. Dave Raymond, television voice of the Texas Rangers, who's been so nice to join the program. We'll be back coming up at 8. Evan Bland stops by at 8:30. We live in a world, my friends, where last week the Big 12 Media Days were in Las Vegas. The SEC Media Days kick off today in Dallas.
Yep. See how worlds are colliding.
See, Texas is taking over that league already.
Nothing makes sense, but a big 4 days. Greg Sankey will actually speak before we are done at 10. So that'll be interesting. I don't think it'll be very newsy, but he drops a little nugget or two as the SEC Media Days kick off. The Big 10 Media Days are next week. Evan Bland will stop by, coming up at 8:30, and then Jacob Bigelow coming up at 9. That is the lineup brought to you by the rooferys at John Higgins Weather Guard. What a weekend in every sense of the word. And as we come to you on this Monday, I'm worn out. This was a rough weekend, folks. This was really a rough weekend. We had an attempted assassination on a former president. We had, everything that goes with that in a very hypersensitive community. But then, man, we lost a lot of people from from all of us growing up in the pop culture world. Just, it is exhausting this weekend. I mean, just life in general, your sports, man, you almost need to take today off after everything that went on this weekend, and nobody wanted what went on Saturday. And we are very hypersensitive, and immediately afterwards, people come out and say the same thing, and the message is meaningless unless you back it up. But God dang it, man, we got to learn how to behave. We don't need to hold hands, but we got to learn how to behave. That's all I'm going to say. We're going to keep it real, but this is a sports show. A little respite, but there's a lot of stuff went on this weekend that, man, your heart's heavy. Whether it be in Butler, Pennsylvania, or losing people like Dr. Ruth and Richard Simmons, they happen in threes, and Shannon Doherty, and Jacoby Jones, 40 years old, Super Bowl hero.
Yeah,
it's 40 years old. Man, just a tough weekend, tough weekend. And I don't know what more to say other than it was what a weekend in every sense, and we just got to learn how to behave, folks, for real. I don't expect people to hold hands after what happened over the weekend, because the rhetoric has been there for many, many decades. But damn it, heartaches today. So we're going to get through this, and we're going to get back to our sports show. But we would be neglecting our duties as just normal citizens if we did not recognize what happened this weekend.
Yeah, I Saturday, it was actually getting up from I had a nap on Saturday. With the news of what happened in Pennsylvania and the attempted assassination, and processing that, keeping my son shielded from that because I didn't want to have that type of conversation. We use in moments like this. I think when you and I were together for the first 2 months of the show, we had Damar Hamlin and how scary that was, and having to come on the air that day. And that's where, I mean, it obviously was part of what we talk about every day with, usually talking about the Monday Night Football game, but we had to talk about it in a different angle. And I got to say, there was a moment during that conversation you and I had about that I thought was very important. And I remember that day using, and it was used a lot. I'm sure you used it too. And that was perspective. And I think sometimes when we say perspective, it gets thrown out there sort of willy-nilly. And maybe it's a safe word to use when something happens, and it's to kind of sum up all of your thoughts on it, because it's complicated, of whether you're a big supporter or you're not of that individual, and in this case, Donald Trump. It makes you step back. It really does make you step back and say, what the hell are we doing? What the hell are we doing? And that's the only perspective I could think about that, because we all have families, and we think about, no matter how many people might like us or not, you think about never wanting that to happen, never wanting to see that happen, never wanting to see it, like you mentioned, Gary, the rhetoric to get to a point that has to be at least one individual's rationale of attempting to do what he did. It just gives you perspective on a lot of the different stuff of, I like how you put it. We need to behave a lot better when it comes to matters like this. And it's sad. It was scary. It was all the emotions. Mm-hmm. Again, no matter what side of the aisle you're on, nobody wants to see that. Nobody wants to sit and explain to their kids that. You never want to say that's a possibility when it comes to something, when we're talking about elections or democracy or leadership or anything of that nature, that this is something that unfortunately can happen. And I hate that there are a lot of people that have older kids than mine that we're having to have that conversation. And in any moments like these, we talk about school shootings, we talk about, unfortunately, these things that probably have somehow got normalized, that we have to have these conversations. I didn't have that perspective as a single adult. Yeah. I didn't have perspective like that, even as a married man without any kids. But it's those types of moments, and even the Damar Hamlin situation, had that not found a silver lining where he came through, having to have a conversation about something that kids love to watch, kids love to participate in, yet you have to say, well, unfortunately, here's what can happen. And so, again, I think of the perspective. The perspective, again, it's something that I know that word is thrown out a lot of, I don't have much to say, and I'm just going to say, boy, that gave me a lot of perspective. But that's what I mean by that. And I knew we would at least address this because we have to. But to find that direct path to the core of what you're thinking, I even on this day, even on this Monday, a couple days removed from the situation on Saturday, it's really tough to find that direct path.
We're hypersensitive and well put. It's everybody condoned violence after the incident on Saturday and then yesterday. But what are the steps forward? It was an awful day for America, and we're in a bad stretch here. I mean, we love this country. We want the best for this country, whatever it is. Whoever's in the White House, that's all I want. I want the best for the country. I want us to be. I want us to prosper. I want us to be the best that we are, because we live in the United States. But Saturday was an awful day, and we've lost respecting, whether it be the office of a presidency, respect our brother, our sister, all of that. Mm-hmm. And we have 4 more months of this. Yeah, we have 4 more months of this, and who knows? An incident like Saturday, I may be naive to believe that, okay, maybe the temperature will drop a little bit, but I've also been around long enough over this political divisiveness that's gone on now for 10, 20 years, and even further, if you go way back. I mean, there's always been moments that we won't learn a lesson. I can hope. We'll see. So I think it was important we talk about that, but we're moving on, and we're going to talk about sports. because if there's anything that could unite us in this country, it is the universal thing that we all agree on. Could be Jimmy, could be you, could be me, could be folks on Sweet 98, is that we need to boo the commissioner at any point possible. And so Rob Manfred walking through saloon doors yesterday.
That's very Stockyards-like.
Yes. To be booed before the Major League Baseball draft is really something that we needed yesterday. And then I'm like, oh, man. And then I see what happened at Hard Rock Stadium in Miami, and I'm like, geez. But it was a wild, wild weekend. Now, I want to give you some happiness. You guys want to be happy?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know about either one of you, but did you and anybody else leave cookies for Denard Robinson last night? Did you leave cookies out for Denard Robinson?
See what you're getting at.
Sweet Prince.
4 days.
College football 14. You've had a good run. You've had a run of over 4,000 days. But for people that have early access online, today is your day because you will be playing the new EA Sports College Football 25. For the rest of us that, you know what? Back in the day, when we used to stand in line with 100 plus strangers for 2 to 3 hours outside of a Best Buy,
be still my heart.
We don't know about these early release dates. When there's a release date, there's a release date. But if you are celebrating early release date, I hope you left out cookies for Denard Robinson because his time has come and gone. This will make you feel old. His kid's now playing.
In the game.
True, yeah. That is true.
So,
boy, life comes at you.
I mean, okay. But the game is out. It was shared this weekend. I did not talk to the YouTuber or Bordeaux, who loves him some Nebraska. The Nebraska part of it is very underwhelming, I am told. I'm not talking about the quarterback's rating or anything like that, but
the intro,
Memorial Stadium.
The tunnel walk, I saw that.
So every school got to kind of include stuff.
Yeah.
And it looks like Nebraska, other than they got the right Herbie in it, did not deliver a lot of goods. Because people will see it, and there's a lot of white in the stands.
Yeah.
There's not the sea of red.
Yeah.
The sides. So the east and west stands look a little bit distorted. And I don't want to ruin everything if you've not heard. Some of the Nebraska-centric game day music you will not find.
Yeah,
but you will find a guy that's got a big boy arm throwing the football and tons of wide receivers that got world-class speed. Other than that, go. If you get it today, have fun. If not, Friday, we'll see you.
The tunnel walk was the one thing that I saw. I think it was over the weekend.
Did you see them wave in Iowa City?
Yeah, they do that. Yeah. Which that's cool. I thought it seemed like the old tunnel walk, by the way, not with the, from the new entrance, how they have the strobes going and everything.
So they come out on the old side of the tunnel walk. Not the new one where the new facility is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think Sirius is a copyright, so they can't use it in the game. But I don't know that for a fact because I have not seen Virginia Tech's open, which would have Sandman.
Yeah. Yep.
So if it's a copyright thing, then Virginia Tech and Nebraska do not have their open. But Nebraska only submitted one song.
Yeah.
It's not like you don't
stand up and shout. Christ.
Wow.
You know who's a big fan of that? Anytime it's played, Michael Bruns will put out a tweet about it.
That would have been pretty polarizing if the only music that Nebraska selected was Stand Up and Shout.
Was Steel Dragon.
Do they not know what Hail Varsity or this? There is no place like Nebraska. Daryl, Nebraska,
Could they have gotten in the Killians?
Oh, I wasn't even thinking that.
They could have. Would have been some good publicity there.
You know what I would have done? I would have not played the game.
Well, I think a lot of people would have at least
mute.
Yeah.
I think people would have become Colorado fans if that was in the game. If between the first and second quarter, they play that. And so you take a break, you go to the fridge, you put it on pause, and all of a sudden that's playing, and you're like, whoa, what's going on here?
What are you doing? Changing teams?
No.
Go Cyclones.
Don't like that. The tunnel walk that I saw over the weekend, it was underwhelming. it gave you a little bit of like, oh yeah, they do the tunnel walk, but you don't even get the doors opening up where coach and players are there. I don't know. Maybe because I've seen a lot of, and this is the other part about this, is so much has leaked because you have so many people who've had early access, VIP type folks that had early access that are dropping a lot of the different scenes and leaks on social media, that the common theme has been attention to detail for a lot of different schools and a lot of different parts of this game. So I know people are like, are you seriously mad that they're not showing the doors to the tunnel walk opening up and everything?
No.
Like, well,
now you have
I
to
wanna
understand,
get the attention.
you got people that got triggered by some rankings.
Exactly. Well, and if there's anything.
Or triggered by Travis Hunter calling out his offensive line on a live stream this weekend. Things are going well in Boulder.
September 7th. Come on, baby. Yeah, just there's a lot of things. That's what's so funny about this game, too. You mentioned the rankings. That thing has really lived for the last month now, before the even release date, has lived in a lot of people's conversations about college football. I mean, at least it's taken us away from the college football, the realignment,
You can do that in the game, too, and they change your field and your uniforms.
Okay, so well, Nebraska in 2 years, will we see Memorial Stadium go
Wrigley
from turf to grass? Will we see that? I mean, will they have that type of detail where we can actually alter the stadium's playing surface? Because that's a thing. But yeah, I'm not surprised that people are looking at all the little details of this and liking or disliking what they do or do not see, because this game has really done a good job of that. That's what being away for 10 years has done to a video game, though, is you clamor for it, but now we're going to get into every little detail that needs to be a part of it, because if this thing's coming back like it is, it needs to be the best version, and all the technology over the last decade that should be implemented in a video game.
Plus,
we have
the headsets now, so there'll be ultimate smack talk.
Oh yeah.
I am Mr. Release Date, but I think I will be playing it today.
All right.
With a friend that is downloading it. So I watched the screen, and so it's got the hours, minutes, seconds countdown. Yeah. But today is early access day. So here's just a little tip out there for all of you either going to be gamers, you're coming back into the gaming world, or you are true gamers. Now, if you're true gamers, you know all of these tips. If you are new to it, here's what you need to do. Because you already bought the headset, you've got the PS5, okay? You're wondering, hey, I've got this old Xbox 360. Can it work on there? No.
That's the old one I used to have a long time ago.
Make sure that you charge your controllers. You've got them fully charged. Make sure that your console is updated. And then also, if you are a family man that's got young kids that, like the wife wants to watch Love Island tonight or The Bachelorette, or you got kids that want to watch an educational program like the Home Run Derby, you're like, nope, Reese, there is no Bluey on the big screen tonight. What is going to be on the big screen is College Football 25. I need my Dylan Raiola more than ever today to be throwing 75-yard in the air, caught at the goal line, pass to Jalen Lloyd. Boom. That's what I need in my life.
I told you I got to do a lot of this in privacy, so he doesn't get wind of it, because it's all he's going to want to do. He won't know anything about it, but we're trying to limit the screen time for the little guy. This would only exacerbate that. So this will be when I get home from work. He's still at daycare. Wife is working. I'll be able to have my time.
Okay. Yeah. The other thing I did notice, and there's going to be a lot of spoilers, which to be expected, I guess. Again, some of you don't understand when it's a release date, that's the release date. Okay. I'm old school. I want to go back to the Best Buy on 48th and O and stand in line with strangers and go, hey, isn't that such and such former Husker football players? And you go, oh yeah. I do notice a lot of red on red. So the clips that I saw this weekend that were shared by YouTuber Bordeaux, if you're a YouTuber, you cannot have like a simple name as Joe. You gotta have like a quirky name. Yeah. So Bordeaux is the NCAA YouTuber that a lot of people watch him play video games.
And he chose Nebraska.
That's what I did during COVID. I thought COVID was back. I was watching somebody play video games.
Oh yeah.
There he was sharing, because he loves Nebraska. I think he made Nebraska one of his dynasty teams.
It is, yeah. He had a selection, did a whole unveiling of it. He has a video of him waking up and having the dream of going through different teams. And then when he woke up, he unveiled his team, and it was Nebraska.
Well, he must have gone onto the Home Field Apparel website, and he bought a sweatshirt that is the back-to-back national championships of 94, 95. But I did notice in things that he shared and watching him briefly when he was playing Nebraska, because I also watched Switch last night.
Yeah.
Because he was playing it. Couple of other athletes were playing it last night on TikTok.
LeBron played it over the weekend.
Yeah, he did.
Yep.
Well, I'm sure SportsCenter.
Well, he had
hour-long
what was he
coverage
playing? Oregon. He was playing Oregon, Colorado. I think that was, one of the games he was playing.
I saw Ohio State and gosh, I can't remember who they're playing. I don't know. I just saw a highlight of a pick six.
Like Tennessee doesn't have their smoky gray uniforms in the game,
but they have
there is no alternate for Nebraska alternate uniform. But like I've alluded to, and we talked about, because recruits like the red on red.
Mm-hmm.
There is red on red in this game,
and you've been hinting at it for a while.
I'm wondering if the alternate uniform this year will be, I want black on black.
I do too.
Because I like black.
Yep.
I mean,
same state of mind.
I mean, once you go black, you never go back. And so that's what Nebraska's theme is defensively this year.
Mm-hmm.
Why'd you guys smirk at me?
Oh, I just realized the band starts today.
That's their theme on defense. But I wonder if the alternate this year will be red on red.
Probably.
What game?
Yeah, because wasn't there one version of the game in the old, I don't know, maybe it was, I'm just going to throw out a date, maybe 2010, where you could essentially choose the alternative uniforms. As long as there was a color.
Pants and stuff.
It may not even have been something that they've ever worn, but yeah, you could go red on red. So
I did not.
I think they are or I think in this game, it's only what they have available, like what they would actually ever wear. I don't think you can manually manipulate the tops and the bottoms on something that they wouldn't otherwise wear. So if that's available in the game, it ain't just coming out of nowhere. It's not just, I just made the red pants, the white pants to the home jerseys and just had a little fun with that. No,
it's just being warned for that UNI game when they walk out in all red.
Oh, the UNI game. Night game.
It is a night game, so yeah.
Some people have bad memories of red on red.
Yep.
I have more bad memories of white on white. The old
surrender
school.
whites?
Yeah, the old school ones. I'm not talking about the alternative uniform that they wore in Evanston in 2016.
There was a busy weekend for Nebraska football. It was actually a really good weekend for Nebraska football of additions that we will discuss as we roll till 10. Major League Baseball All-Star Game is tomorrow. Home Run Derby is tonight. We're going to have a special Home Run Derby that does not include Alonso and Bobby Witt Jr. and Ozuna, who I think it'll be Ozuna versus Bobby Witt Jr. in the final. Okay. Also, I can't. Gunnar Henderson hit his 28th yesterday. Can't forget about him either. And we don't have Berman.
We don't. And I don't know how you guys are on that one.
I'm good.
If anybody knows me knows that I'm not a Berman. I have not been a Berman fan.
There was a point during my life that I thought, you know what? Why don't I just go to the Home Run Derby so I don't have to listen to Berman?
Okay, good.
Just
so we're
pay the
there.
money, travel afar, just go to the Home Run Derby. Don't have to listen to Berman. Come back, watch the All-Star Game on TV the next day.
100%.
Until they piped him in the PA.
Yeah, you can't quit. You can't quit him. Plus,
sure you can.
ESPN can't.
Well, okay.
They keep bringing him back.
You said you. I'm like, well, I know I can.
He's a sweater, by the way. You guys know that? So he lives.
Oh God, yeah.
He lives in Southwest Florida.
Did you see when he was golfing?
Yeah, that was at an event I was at.
Oh, it was?
Yeah,
okay.
So it was an event in Naples.
Yeah. He picked the wrong color of shorts to wear.
Yeah.
What? Bruce Pearl's looks good.
Yeah, he's a sweater. I mean, first of all, it was, and you know when that picture was taken,
when
it was like late September. Now it's still hot down in Florida in late September. But yeah, dude. I got a special place in my heart for sweaters.
Oh, I sweat too. I'm not. But
no, I don't you don't sweat that bad.
Well, not to that extent.
Like the Buzz Williams.
Yeah, not to that
extent. Or the Sean Miller.
Yeah, like where I'd be sweating right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, not to that
like
extent.
The umpire at Fulton County in the middle of July.
Yeah.
Or these uniforms that the players are wearing from Fanatics that are so bad that
just seeps through.
Well, like the Yankees, when any of the Yankees are sweating, the uniform looks terrible.
Mm-hmm.
Like the Royals are playing the Red Sox on Friday night, and Cole Reagans is just dripping with sweat, and the uniform looks awful.
Yeah, it changes like a shade of color too. Yeah, it's really bad.
Like a Tide commercial.
Or Rink Mast. There's a sweater. Rink's a sweater.
Yeah, Rink is a sweater.
Big time sweater.
Anybody ever ask him about that?
No.
I mean,
I think
I don't think it impacted his play, but
well, he couldn't get past the battle scars. It looked like he got mauled by a wolverine like several times throughout the season.
Or a fun date.
He had the 3 claws right there. Jeez, he had a lot going on last year.
He did. The one thing I don't like doing, because some people have medical conditions.
Yeah,
they sweat
it
a
is.
lot.
No, it's
I don't
true.
want to. I want to body up a sweaty man.
No,
Like if you're playing basketball, or playing pickup, and
Yes.
you're playing against somebody that's sweating and they're sweating all over you.
Yeah.
I might retire.
You guys remember the movie Along Came Polly, where they're playing pickup against? And it goes up against the. He goes, do you care? Could you put a shirt on, man?
What if your significant other was a big sweater? Would you still spoon?
Gosh, if I don't think I've ever known a female that was a major sweater.
951-1620.
Could be
I
tough.
guess.
There are power rankings of
Like before you get down to the fun time and sweating's already happened.
I mean, it's a video game. It's going to happen.
I mean, you're in there for life. I was
just saying.
It might be when you know.
That's where I would maybe wonder about a medical condition, perhaps. But I don't want to say I'm a superficial guy, Gary, but that would be on my no-no list. If
a deal breaker?
It would be a deal breaker if we show up to the date like 20 minutes into it, bead and sweat.
Are you nervous?
Yeah, no,
it's a medical condition. See my card?
Then I just feel really bad, and then I'm sure she probably wouldn't want to see me.
Some will say that Shakira sweated all over the field at Hard Rock at halftime last night, and that's why Messi went down with his ankle injury that knocked him out of the Copa final. Is that too much?
I mean, no, it was a fan. I mean, it was a
Shakira
non-contact.
Shakira does not age.
No. So you're saying I should have watched this?
You know who Shakira is? She's J-Lo. J-Lo never ages.
Yeah,
and they still got it going on.
Yeah. Who had the worst fall, though, yesterday, Messi or Verdugo?
Yankee fans.
That was like me in outfield playing slow pitch softball after we had 6 beers before the game.
And there's a ground ball to Volpe, and the Yankees are going, no! All right.
Can't get my feet.
By the way, a lot of visuals for the weekend on a much, much lesser scale of visuals. Do yourself a favor and do not look at Messi's ankle.
Yeah.
Oh, God. That looked like a sweet potato.
Yeah, so they had to show it just to let you know, okay, typically when a guy goes down, even when there's no contact in soccer, it was intentional on that person's part. Yeah, that wasn't intentional. That was legit.
All right, you can join the conversation. Lots to discuss. We're gonna have some discussions about some people we lost over the weekend. Just as I said, it was a what a weekend in every sense. 402-951-1620. That is the 42 Degree The Source by your mom's hotline that you can get in on every show right here on The Zone. You can always email us into the Equitable Bank inbox. We're Doug and the great crew out there. They will take care of you, and they'll, of course, always answer on the first ring. Gary at 1620thezone.com.
Handley at 1620thezone.com.
Also on the JTech Construction Zone Twitter feed at Gary Sharp 1620.
At Nick Handley 1620.
Jimmy is here as well. Dave Raymond. Talk a little Major League Baseball. Evan Bland and Jacob Bigelow all on the show on this Monday, the 15th of July at 1620 The Zone. Whoa. That's from my Saturday show.
That was sent to me last night by our friend
Really?
Johnny D. And so I saw that. I was like, oh, got to play this. Wholesome content.
Yeah. And Schmitty was on a tour pretty much, wasn't he?
Yeah. So
I've golfed with Schmitty twice.
Your former co-host.
Yeah. I love Schmitty.
I've known Chris Schmidt and Lincoln for 25 years. But I've been going on his Saturday show, some form of the Saturday show for about 16 years.
Yeah.
And hardly, it's one day a week. He calls up and it's supposed to be on for about 20 minutes, ends up being about an hour.
Yeah.
Always good on a football Saturday.
But we all like to golf.
Mhm.
And him and I, our schedules just haven't lined up where we've been out. But he was out golfing, I think at Wilderness Ridge. I think that's where he was last week.
Mm-hmm.
And he had a little incident when he was driving the cart and he got too close to a wall and he broke his ankle. So he's in a walking boot, but he had this tour of Western Nebraska golf courses lined up.
Yeah.
And so he told me that his best golf this week was playing with a boot on his left leg. But he's out there hobbling around playing golf. But like he did the tour of the great courses that are out in Western Nebraska.
Yep.
So, yeah. We all see. I've been an advocate. I almost had Pelini convinced, not convinced, just that he would entertain it. That we should have a media golf scramble with the football coach before the year begins, where
that'd be amazing.
he plays one hole with everybody.
Yep.
But all the media members play, the LCC or something like that.
Yeah.
Kick off the season. That'd be nice.
Huh.
We essentially where you could use Bo to get you into the
back.
courses that aren't readily available to us media types. Some media types and others. There's some that probably can get in any that they want to. Not myself, but you use the privileges that maybe a coach has, and then it's a win-win. Then you get to talk to the coach. He's probably I don't want to say like for Bo best behavior, but I've interviewed Bo on a golf course. Oh, one of the more pleasant settings. That was a pleasant Bo. He was fantastic. So there's also that where you're nice and relaxed.
As you can see, the person that is most known for playing golf at Nebraska was not approached.
No.
Speaking of back in the day,
Or Golden Tee.
I ran into Keith Williams over the weekend.
Nice.
So Keith Williams, who was not retained by Frost,
Mhm.
was on the Riley staff, the wide receiver coach who's now in the NFL. He, even when he got let go in Lincoln, there must be something about Lincoln. Like Trev kind of still lived in Lincoln
Mhm.
when he was working at Texas A&M before they sold their house.
Yeah, I think just now.
Yeah, they
Maybe
sold
a
their
week
house
ago?
like 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
But he was like living in Lincoln. Keith Williams lived in Lincoln for a while because he, I think his daughter was in Lincoln Southwest. But talk about a guy that loves Nebraska. So he was back. They put on a camp out at Millard North
Mhm.
over the weekend, and so I was like, Coach, and he recognizes me but doesn't know my name. There's a guy that loves Nebraska, man. He was talking up Nebraska. I guess Stanley Morgan was working the camp as well.
Oh, cool.
But yeah, it was kind of cool to see Keith Williams. I'm like, there's a guy that in a short amount of time in Nebraska on Riley's staff, this place had a huge impact on him. Remember, he got in trouble here. He had the DUI.
Yep.
But he loved Nebraska. He goes, oh man, he goes, I hope it's going to be a great year. He goes, God, they're loaded wide receiver. And he was just going on and on and on. I was like, it's great to see you, Coach.
Is he doing still
He's with the Saints.
teaching? Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know if he was still doing some teaching on the side with, area players or anything of that nature. Because I thought at one point he was.
I don't think now. Well, he was.
Yeah.
Because he would bring guys to Lincoln.
Right.
Like Tyreek Hill was somebody who he worked when Tyreek Hill was with the Chiefs. Tyreek Hill would come to Lincoln.
Oh, okay.
And just a random open field in Lincoln, Nebraska.
Yeah.
You'd have all these like NFL and Nebraska wide receivers would be working out with him in the offseason.
Okay.
Now that he's in the NFL, I don't think you can do that. I don't think you can do that on the side. But he would do that during the summer in Lincoln. Even, I believe even when he was on Riley's staff,
Mm-hmm.
guys would come up and work out with him during the summer, but it was a lot of NFL guys.
Gotcha.
But yeah, Tyreek Hill, just randomly, I think either his first or second year in Kansas City was just in Lincoln, hanging out, working out with Keith Williams.
Nice. Yeah.
So he's like, he goes, I got some dogs at wide receiver.
Yeah.
But it's great seeing him. Guy loves Nebraska. Absolutely loves Nebraska. And you know what? To have a guy that's on an NFL staff when it comes to guys getting drafted.
Yep.
Knows the lay of the land here.
Mhm.
Bigger deal this weekend for Nebraska football. Picking up a coach or a cornerback.
I I'm going to be honest. The player part of it is probably what got me excited a little bit more, especially when I watched some of his highlights. The coach, and this is something that I know we'll talk to Sam about tomorrow, that I thought he brought up a good point about with the how coaches are going to go about having the unlimited resources with analysts and guys being on the field, about maybe waiting and seeing how this year plays out before you go all in. Anyway, not knowing as much about Jamar Mosey, of what ultimately his role will be.
Not know about Rockhurst football?
I know, right? But I do know when you.
What are they, Jimmy? The Hawklets?
Yes, they are.
Hey,
oh wow!
No, I used to be all in on Kansas City Rockhurst because they would play Lincoln Southeast, and they had a running back who went to KU. Remember Tony Sands?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
wasn't that his name?
Yeah,
great player.
Yeah,
this was
his
in
record's going to get
mid 90s,
early. It'll be broken
early
this
90s.
year.
But it was mid 90s when he was at KU.
Yep.
So Southeast and Rockhurst would play every year. One year they'd play at Seacrest, and then the following year it was they'd go down and play in Kansas City.
I don't remember
I think
that.
Creighton Prep still plays Rockhurst in basketball on a home and home.
They do, and I want to say it might be Prep as well in baseball. There's something with Rockhurst in baseball too.
But Tony Severino was the long time, like Hall of Fame coach at Rockhurst. But I used to because
and Sev was still around.
Because all boys schools were very foreign to me.
Mm-hmm.
Like I went to a Catholic high school, but at West Des Moines Dowling, or now Dowling Catholic, it was boys and girls.
Yeah,
so when I moved here, and you got Prep or Duchesne or Marion or just one sex school, I was like, okay. But Rockhurst is all boys, and I got all into Rockhurst football because they had like old school uniforms. But
Southeast Stadium too.
Southeast and Rockhurst would play. So I don't know where I'm going here, but I was a big Rockhurst fan. So
I didn't know a lot of the inner workings of Rockhurst to say that Jamar Mosey, this is a steal.
I
couldn't.
I think there's the part, we're going to get into this because there's the part of Rule's got a thing called ABI. He may not know this, but I'm just giving it to him now, and he can steal it as long as he gives me something. ABI.
All about what?
Always be improving.
Okay.
Never be satisfied. Never say, we got through spring, we got through the portal season, our roster is set. Always be improving, whether it be on the field or off the field, and always be thinking ahead and always saying, you know what? I want to be a chess master more than checkers. So where you zig and zag and you do things differently, ABI, always be improving, whether it be with your roster or people that can help you. I like the move. The Bryson Weber thing, and remember, we talked to Shafe at the end of the show on Friday, and he said, yeah, he's going to be in. And I've thought that. So lots in the Bryson Weber to Nebraska, the cornerback who committed yesterday, or the weekend all ran together.
Yes, it was yesterday.
If you're wondering what kind of a player he is, I'm just going to tell you that Utah was one of his final schools.
Yeah.
You know my love of Kyle Whittingham and their development. They also are very, very good at evaluation of defensive backs. And so all I needed to see is that Utah, for a defensive back, was one of his finalists, to know that Bryson Weber, there's something there. And then you turn on his film and you go, here's a rangy, athletic, 6'3", versatile guy who could be safety or cornerback. And also I like this with my coaches as well, that he played wide receiver, got converted to cornerback. I think some of the better coaches are guys that played their career on one side of the ball and are now on the other side.
I'd agree.
I actually think that's what benefited Frost.
I'd agree.
Frost played both sides of the ball when he had a helmet on, and I think it helped him in his coaching. But athletes that played one position or play multiple positions, but play wide receiver, cornerback, and he made the transition from wide receiver to cornerback. So you have the mindset of a wide receiver while you're playing cornerback.
Yeah.
And so I like that. So this is a good pickup for Nebraska. And I imagine he's not ranked on Rivals. There's a bump. There will be a bump for him in the recruiting rankings, but that's a good pickup for Nebraska.
Yeah. The thing I liked about him, it sometimes having the twitch is a good thing if you're, say, a running back, if you're a skilled position player. As a DB, when you see the twitch, maybe makes you a little bit concerned. His for his size, it's very fluid movement. And that's the thing that I really liked about it, watching even on a highlight where you're going to spot him and you're going to show things that he's doing well, that I don't think that would change even on, say, a low light or something where he's not even involved in the play. Like just the way that he moves, it's very intentional. He doesn't seem overwhelmed with anything. Guys are trying to free themselves up from him, and he's not getting twitchy. It's very fluid, solid, confident movement. And you're right, the size, 6'2" sometimes can look different if you're maybe a little bit more stout. But yeah, he's a very rangy looking guy, yet he doesn't move uncoordinated. If, like, you would think if someone was playing that position that has that type of length, especially that young, could still be maybe a little bit awkward when they're moving, especially when they're at full speed. There's just none of that. A lot of his speed, a lot of his control, everything looks very, very consistent with what he's doing from pre-snap to what he's doing getting to the football, whether he's coming up making a tackle or he's in coverage. I don't know. I try not to get overly carried away when I'm watching these guys in highlight reels, but the things that translates in every play, whether you're watching a highlight or low light, is how's the guy moving away? How's he moving away from the ball? How's he moving on his receivers when the play is at him? How's he making the impact? But how does he look just from a movement standpoint? I really like that about him. And
tell you what you like about him is Matt Rule loves Missouri City, Texas.
Well, and
go back to his time at Baylor. He loves recruiting the high schools in Missouri City, Texas.
The thing about, and with that, going back to Jamar Mosey, I thought that was, and I know Bob Wagner was taking on more of an actual position coach, but I thought, I know this was talked about a lot with Bob Wagner, is that also not only benefiting you from a position standpoint and trying to improve that position group and everything that comes with on-field coaching, but also continuing to have a solid pipeline in the state of Texas. And from where Bob Wagner was extremely highly regarded in the state of Texas, especially certain areas of Texas that Nebraska wanted to get into. And obviously a lot of the connection with Jamar Mosey is Nebraska's recruiting his son, but also there's that part of Kansas City we've talked about a lot in Missouri, but also in Kansas City where it's highly competitive. You got Kansas now that is going to have, it has, but now has the ability to close in that area. K-State and what Missouri's doing, this gives Nebraska that puncher's chance too, is where I look at that. And I don't know if that area is a high priority or not.
I wouldn't compare Mosey and Wagner. Which, by the way, Bob Wagner's son is still on the roster, so good on him. Bob Wagner was handed a job. We love your connection in Arlington, and especially Arlington Martin High School and the area, and you're well known. Here's a job on the staff.
Mm-hmm.
That's what he was given. So Mosey actually was at Central Florida as an analyst.
Right. Yes.
So he'd already been hired before Nebraska got him yesterday. Back to Weber. So John Butler gets in and he gets to know the guys right away that he's going to be coaching, and then they give him a list of targets and recruits that have already committed to Nebraska to go after. But I think in this case, and he seems to be right in line with the rule. Everybody's a good communicator. They're up front. They're very authentic. I keep saying this. Yeah, you got to have a hammer, and you got position coaches that got to recruit their position, and they have areas which they're stronger in. Nebraska's overall pitch, man, they're selling the brand. I think that's what got Weber is, okay, yeah, I knew Cooper. Okay, and I like Cooper a lot. Just, I need some stability. I have John Butler talk to him. But just his comments to a couple of the recruiting sites, he is committed to the brand more than I committed to a coach, which, in a lot of cases can help you, because what happens if that coach, where you've gone into South Florida and you got a coach that has a connection down there, and all of a sudden he brings these Florida kids here, and then he's gone, do all those Florida kids leave? You want him to sell and commit to the brand. I'm not oblivious to the fact that recruits get attracted and attached to their position coach, but ultimately, if you're a really good recruiter, you're able to do both. You're able to build that relationship one-on-one, but also sell the brand, so the brand is stronger than one person. Like if I get fired or I leave or something, you're in it to win it for the brand, and you're going to stay. And then you adjust by the new person they bring in.
Yeah, and I that's where overall personality wise, and I don't know what John Butler's personality is. I don't know how he's going to differ when it comes to his ability to communicate with prospective football players as opposed to what Evan Cooper was. But I think there's also the part about John Butler. And again, maybe this is more to the coach himself, but I think also to the brand, because when I think of the brand, what Nebraska as a brand under Matt Rule is also communicating with all these guys is the plan that they have in place for them, especially if they do want to be potential next level players. And so that's part of it. You now introduce them to a new defensive backs coach that was part of that, part of what you want to do, was part of the NFL, is able to evaluate, is able to pinpoint certain parts of your game that can work and pinpoint certain parts of your game that they can develop to get you to where you want to be. Because that, again, goes back to every coach. I think if there's that commonality that's on the Nebraska staff, and I would assume John Butler fits that mold and will fall in line as well, is having that detailed plan for each and every person that they are recruiting, no matter what that player's goal is, whether it's to be a starter and to be a part of, I would think, though, if you're all Big Ten or if you're all Big Ten second team, then you have aspirations of playing at the next level. Maybe you just want to be the best college football player you can be and see where the cards fall at the end of that. Or you do have aspirations to go in the NFL. Either way, they're going to be able to figure out that plan for you. And this is where I go, the attention that they have in the details of this. And I would assume John Butler, given his experience, is very consistent to what Matt Rule and his staff are able to present.
Did I see a picture that was shared online of when Weber was here on his visit, that he was fishing with T.O.?
Was that him? Someone was. I don't know if that was him. Was that him?
T.O.'s 87. T.O. is still recruiting to the brand?
You know what? I would think if it works into his schedule, if he just so happens to be going out fishing and you want to bring someone by, sure. Wisdom. You're imparting some wisdom.
Hey, you're a 17-year-old kid, and I think you would probably study a little bit about the history of Nebraska football.
Sure.
You know, like before Matt Rule calls you up and you're like, where's Lincoln? Now, I'm sure they get that. They probably get, where's Lincoln?
Right.
But you'd probably study it a little bit, so at least the name before you come on a visit is at least familiar.
Yeah.
And then you see it everywhere.
Right.
Unless he's like, hey, you're that guy?
But I think I need to know more about, if this is true, if T.O. went fishing with him on his visit.
Went fishing.
I mean, what do you do when you're fishing?
Nice old man.
You talk about life.
Apparently used to coach at Nebraska.
And he's 70 years older than I am. But, man, he knows his fishing. He loves to fish.
And he's getting the game early instead of Friday.
Have we found our cheaper Phil Knight? Whole question?
T.O.'s just around.
Phil Knight is 86.
You want to
and
fish?
He's got more money than God.
Yep.
And he wants Oregon to win a national championship before he takes his shoes and leaves. I don't know what better way to say it.
That's a good one.
Rough weekend.
Yeah.
Does Nebraska, because I think probably T.O. privately is active in supporting.
Yeah.
But he's not out there going, hey, I can't be the last person to have a national championship at Nebraska. Let's get him one. I'll do whatever it takes.
Yeah.
And so now he's fishing with recruits, which I think is great. That is so Nebraska.
Mm-hmm. I feel like it's on T.O.'s terms of, hey, I'm going to be doing this if you want to bring any recruits by.
I'm sure Nebraska will get turned in for some violation. We don't have that. We don't have that advantage. I need more. I need a story about this picture. If this is true that he was fishing with the recruits.
Just call it a mentoring program.
Did you ever Did you ever?
Might be a big
did you ever get
fisherman.
involved with hunting with the Huskers?
No.
So the late Jerry Gray, who I did a lot of stuff with, and would have the Husker Hour on this radio station, and he was with Greg Wagner.
Yep.
He originated the Greg Wagner show. But every March, outside of Wahoo, they would do hunting with the Huskers.
Okay.
And so there would be a lot of former Huskers that were, hunters.
Yeah.
Even Calvin Jones.
Really?
Oh yeah. 'Cause
Okay.
I would go and MC this event, and then I hunted a couple of times.
Okay.
T.O. would be up there.
Yeah.
One
I'm sure.
one of the greatest conversations I ever had at this event was just listening to Jeff Kinney and Tom Osborne talk.
I can imagine.
And I was like, this is incredible.
Well, it's like
but T.O. would come and he'd be in his camouflage and he'd go out and he'd bag some birds.
It's like you mentioned, even if we were able to have a media opportunity with coaches while they're golfing, when you're finding them in their happy place, you're going to get some of the best conversations, probably some of the best stories as well. So bringing it all back to Bryson Weber, can imagine just the very calm, nice wisdom being imparted by the great Tom Osborne.
Sure. Kids from, Texas. I'm sure he's fished before.
Yeah.
But it looked like T.O. was telling him how to, put the hook in or take the hook out.
Could this be a new YouTube series? Fishing with T.O.
Yeah.
Well,
different take on busting with the boys.
T.O. loved his T.O.
Slightly.
Conversation might be a little bit different.
A little bit more toned down.
But the love is still the same.
If T.O. didn't like the conversation, he tips the boat and you fall out. Next.
Coming up next, coach visits with
what a great the most access I think he ever gave, like allowed access, not Armin Katayan just dropping into Lincoln.
Yeah.
So this, I think, and if I'm off on this, I apologize, but I think this is one of the best pieces of print journalism we've had. T.O.'s last year, Ken Hamilton was embedded with the coaches, and he would sit in meetings. And when the year was over, he wrote about all the different things that went on during that season, that he got to be in meetings and why this happened.
That'd be amazing.
Yeah, I think that's the most access that T.O. gave to a local reporter, but it would have been a great thing. Go fishing with T.O.
Yep.
And so you're mic'd up and you're just like, T.O. has a guest. Like, what if him and Devaney were fishing?
It's like Seinfeld, comedians in riding cars and getting coffee.
Coaches in a canoe.
Coaches in a canoe with Tom Osborne.
Coaches in a canoe on the Niobrara.
Oh, and then they get to go by the kids that are tanking in the Niobrara.
T.O., come back. But if that picture, and I think it's real. It's a real picture. But I would like to know more of the story.
Yeah.
What a great thing.
Just something that we have to offer if you make your official visit.
That's my first question to Bryson Weber. Not, why'd you commit to Nebraska? Yeah. Fishing with T.O., huh?
How'd that happen?
Jimmy's got an update coming up next. Dave Raymond from Dallas. We'll talk about Major League Baseball that's now in the All-Star break. Tonight is the Home Run Derby. Tomorrow is the game. The draft is today, too. Tyson Lewis and Millard West went 51st overall to Cincinnati. Josh Caron will be up today. Possibly Cale Fun from Norris, who is headed to LSU.
Already taking classes there.
Could be a busy day for Nebraskans in the Major League Baseball draft. So Dave will join us coming up at 8. Evan Bland and Jacob Bigelow still to come on a Monday edition. Glad to have you in on 1620 The Zone.
Max Butenbach and Case Sanderson have been chosen to represent the Great Plains Division in the Northwoods League All-Star Game. That's on July 23rd in Mankato, the one in Minnesota. First pitch, 7:05. Butenbach is among the league leaders in Northwoods Leagues this summer, ranking in the top 10 in 6 offensive categories in 30 games with the Wilmer Stingers. He is the league leader with a .442 batting average, while ranking second in the league in on-base percentage and slugging percentage as well as OPS. He's tied for 4th with 4 homers, sits 7th with 38 RBIs. Sanderson's hitting .363 at the plate with 6 doubles and 3 home runs in 21 games with the Lacrosse Loggers. He has accounted for 50 runs in the 21-game span, tallying 24 RBIs and scoring 26 times. He's posted 9 multi-hit games, accounted for 4+ runs in 7 of the 21 games this summer with the Loggers. Major League Baseball, it's the All-Star break at that time of the year. The Oakland Athletics turned the clock back and said that they should return to Philadelphia to replace the Phillies after they had 8 home runs yesterday in an 18-3 rout of the first-place Phillies, the most homer in a game by any one MLB team in 25 years. World Series preview. Lawrence Butler, I don't know who that is either, accounted for 3 of them, while Brent Rooker and Seth Brown each had 2. Butler, not Brett, had 6. I knew who he was. Had 6 RBIs. Rooker tied his career high with 5 RBIs for Oakland, which entered the 4th fewest wins in baseball. Hey, congratulations! Trailing Seattle by 16 games in the AL West. The Athletics' 8 home runs were estimated at a combined 3,340 feet. In statistics that mean absolutely nothing. The last team to hit at least 8 home runs in a game were the Cincinnati Reds in September of 1999, when they hit 9 against the Phillies and Ryan Dunn. I've seen that movie.
Yeah, not
Ken
that Ryan
Griffey
Dunn.
hit the first one.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
The MLB record
Ryan
is
Dunn.
10 home runs set by the Blue Jays in 1987.
The real Ryan Dunn.
Shout out Lloyd Mosby. Rafael Devers hit a 2-run homer that broke a seat deep in right field at Fenway Park. Dominic Smith also had a 2-run shot as the Red Sox beat the Royals 5-4 to take their series. The Red Sox won their second straight after losing the opener. Boston improved to Major League best 9-3 in July, 20-8 since June 12th. Devers set a first-inning slider from Brady Singer, who, remember, he was sweating a lot. I projected 439 feet, crashing into the top of the seat and loosening up the top support. I once did that at Arrowhead, but I was angry. The Red Sox posted a Fenway facility incidents report. They had a picture of a broken red seat on their social media sites. And finally, Miami Marlins outfielder Dane Myers said on Sunday that he has a fractured ankle, one day after he angrily kicked the door in a 10-6 loss to the Cincinnati Reds. Reds have gotten a lot of pub today. Shout out Hal Morris. Myers, who had played in 40 games for Miami this season, was ejected in the 8th inning on Saturday after disputing plate umpire Derek Thomas. Whoa, he came back to life, ruling that he failed to check his swing on a full count pitch. The Marlins had runners on first and second with 1 out at the time. Myers wanted Thomas to get a second opinion on the check swing from first base umpire Brendan Miller, but to no avail. The ejection came after Myers' heated exchange with Thomas. He said he kicked the door in the visitors' clubhouse. He's supposed to see a foot specialist today.
Wow.
Does anyone just take a bat to the Gatorade cooler anymore?
That sounds familiar to the beloved Husker football team. Happened to an individual. Had some foot issues afterwards.
This is why you should have a stress ball and squeeze it instead. Safer.
Yeah. Yeah, I've always...
That's a story that I think, you know what? We need these young, talented filmmakers in Nebraska to do like shorts.
Yep.
Like do 5-minute, like let's get to the bottom of kicking a locker and breaking your toe.
Yeah.
Let's get to the bottom. Let's do some investigate. Where's Mike McKnight?
I want the origin of the story.
Thanks, Jimmy. Just a little nugget out there for all of you men and women that umpire. When the count is 3-0, it is not automatic strike if the ball is in the neighborhood.
True.
Okay, just want to say that. Want to get that out of the way.
very
Saw
true.
that a couple times this weekend. Also, with the All-Star game coming up tomorrow in Arlington, I wish Major League Baseball would do this. If I was the commissioner of Major League Baseball, and I wouldn't mind being the commissioner of Major League Baseball.
You don't mind being booed?
But I think I'd be more of a player's commissioner than an owner's commissioner, so I probably would not get the job. I also don't think I would be booed. I think I would be a commissioner for all.
Yeah, but don't you have to be booed a little bit? Just because some people just feel like anytime they see commissioner, that is their natural reaction to boo.
I want to be the commissioner that gets cheered.
Oh,
I want to get a standing ovation.
This is why you won't be a commissioner then.
You know, I did something that I've never done before. I like to go and speak. So,
oh, geez, did you do okay? That's new.
Well, sometimes you get to go to these events.
You don't do a lot of that.
So I
Where are you
tried.
speaking at today, by the way?
I tried this trick, and this was stolen from Burt Blyleven.
Oh, best player,
Blyleven.
player in the game of RBI, by the way. Anyway, go on.
So I heard Burt Blyleven speak at a hot stove banquet when we were all with the Twins. And this one place that I spoke, I was like a Lions Club or something.
Yeah, a Rotary.
I said, hey, before we get started, can everybody just get out of your seats and stand up? And so, they're
what are we doing?
People are shuffling around, and then finally they stand up.
Doing an exercise.
I go, all right, on the count of 3, can everybody clap your hands? 1, 2, 3. And I said, thank you. I've always wanted a standing ovation. Stolen
Touché.
from Burt Blyleven.
Still counts.
Stolen from Burt Blyleven.
That's pretty good, though. Touche.
Yeah. So I'd be the commissioner that gets cheered.
Okay.
But I also would be a commissioner that would change this week. Baseball has the week. Now we're a Saturday and a Sunday closer to football, but baseball is still going on. It's got now a little buffer before the Olympics begin at the end of the month, but soccer is over. Wimbledon is over.
You know what tomorrow is? A lot of people, at least 5 teams, rookies report.
Okay.
There we go.
I would do this to capture the whole week. Last night I would have played the Futures game. Futures game, which is kind of entertaining, gets lost put on a Saturday.
Yep.
There's Major League Baseball games going on.
They cut off a really good game that I was watching.
So last night, I would have put the Futures game on. Today, I have the Home Run Derby. Tomorrow, I have the All-Star game. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, I have the draft. Friday, baseball is back. And then on the weekend is Cooperstown.
Oh, I do like that. Yes.
That's the week that it should be for Major League Baseball to grab an entire week of celebrating the grand old game.
Yeah, I can't disagree with any of that because on Friday, if you were to have the draft wrap up on Friday and Major League Baseball in the second half of the season begin or resume on Friday, it's fine because the most eyeballs on your product when it comes to the draft are going to be on, especially that first day or night, and then obviously into the second day. Third day, unless you are a sicko, you're not really paying attention. Or if you maybe know somebody who could get their name called is the only reason you might be paying attention. By that time, you're ready to get the second half of the season going. So I like that. And then how great would that be, though? Okay, second half of the season resumes, but then you've got Cooperstown on Saturday. So then you get more attention on that. So you go from the All-Star game on Tuesday to it coming back around. A lot of those All-Star games that usually produce Hall of Famers, you're celebrating them on Saturday. Yeah, it's perfect. I like it.
I can only do so much. Yeah. I can also only do so much that if Ohtani gets back on the mound and wins a Cy Young, he's the greatest player ever to play baseball.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Now the Royals have Jack Tani.
Yeah, they do. Get used to those size 19 feet. We'll get into that a little bit later because Jack Caglione fell to the Royals at 6. We know Cags. He's going to potentially be playing at the K. Stop off at Werner Park.
Yep.
But last night, you didn't need to be a soccer fan to know that the Copa event at Hard Rock turned into an absolute blank show. Sorry if I used up my quota of using that word on the air.
I mean, but to be fair, that's what's been going on.
It was well used, by the way.
So the fans stormed the gates last night. God, if the Miami Hurricanes could only have something like that happen at Hard Rock. I have been in that facility for a Hurricane game and a Dolphin game.
Okay. Because I have questions.
We have all of us
it's
have
nice.
All of us have been to stadiums for football games, American football, where there are larger crowds. Never ever have I ever encountered something like what happened last night of people that don't have tickets storming the gate, crawling through AC vents to get into the stadium.
Just to watch a bunch of people run around.
Never, ever. None of us, right?
No.
None of us have ever been in an incident like that at a football game in that stadium or elsewhere where you have larger crowds. But last night was just a major, major meltdown. And it actually turned into a terrible look because of that and the delay.
Yeah, 75-minute delay.
And then the field being wet in the second half.
Muggy.
Am I wrong to say that the soccer fan is just different? Like if I'm an SEC if I'm an SEC fan waking up this morning, you are soft AF.
Yes,
you try and tell me You try and tell me you have passion for your team and your sport? I have never seen a Georgia fan trying to get into Bryant-Denny in Tuscaloosa crawling through an AC vent.
That's where I have questions since you've been there. How
I've never seen the AC vents.
How accessible are these AC vents?
When I went, there were no AC vents in the stadium. It's an outdoor stadium.
It looked like something out of Ocean's 11. Like you're literally trying to access certain entry points through the vents. I thought you could only do that in movies. Because I always thought if you try to do that in real life, you're going to get stuck and you're going to be in a
Did this game end scoreless? Because that would be even more hilarious.
Argentina won.
Yeah.
Oh, all right. Shout out Ginobili.
Without Lionel Messi.
Why does this only happen in soccer?
Because
I may know the answer, but I'm putting it out there to everybody. Why does incidents like this only happen in soccer? I'm sure they're
all skinny.
I'm sure the security at Charlotte, because remember we had a Malice in the Palace incident.
Yep, last week.
Then you had this. I'm sure local security, whatever the relationship was by the organization that runs Copa, maybe taking it over and saying, no, we're in charge. We're going to need your help, but we're in charge. Maybe it led to some breakdowns. Remember, this country hosts the World Cup in 26. But why in soccer do these things only happen? It does not. The Nebraska-Colorado game on week 2 being a night game, there are not going to be people rushing the gates at Memorial Stadium.
If there was ever a chance that it could happen, that would be the game. Oh, that would definitely be the game. Okay, this is where I'm going to attempt to put myself in the mind of a soccer fan, or as I like to say, especially that are not usually within the same.
Throw yourself on the ground.
Oops, my knee. I always refer to them as soccer hooligans because there is, especially European soccer, we've
seen Eurotrip.
Not only how big it is, but okay, Jimmy, to that point, I think there's always going to be the stereotype of we think we get after it before football games or baseball games. No. They get after it at another level. But then the amount of, again, we think we're passionate about college football and about just American football, which we are. It's just a different life. It's a way of life. I mean, it's essentially the way I would compare it is an entire country is talking about that sport the way we talk about Nebraska football for 365 days a year. And then I think of all of this is where I'm a little jaded as someone who doesn't watch soccer. It always seems like there's a lot of conspiracy theories on outcomes of a game and the fixes in, or governments are involved when it comes to certain types of play. Then you have, of course, the history of when a team does not perform up to snuff, that they get a beating by their own government. And it's always laid a foreground to me of, I would love to go to a EPL game just because I'm a fan of sports in general. Not a soccer fan, wouldn't even know what the hell's going on. But there is that
drink
part
enough
of me.
Beer, it doesn't matter.
True. There is that part of me that is always kind of nervous because I don't know what I'm going to see in the stands. Like I'm actually I would be kind of worried, especially if it's two fan bases that are at each other as well.
Do you think Colorado fans will be worried to come to Lincoln? No, I'm being honest, because the 52-7 game, there was
incidents.
A lot.
Yeah, and it got a little
hairy,
more hostile than what you would typically see in Memorial Stadium.
Probably going to be a lot of anger in the stands.
Oh, there will be.
There'll be a lot of anger in the stands. Do you think a Colorado fan goes, because look at what we heard last year with Nebraska going to Colorado. Some people are like, nah, and they weren't treated very well.
I'll email Josh. I'll find out.
Yeah, I do think there are probably some Colorado fans that would think that, because the whole idea of Memorial Stadium being this great home venue, and it's the quote, the best fans in college football. I still think that is something of yesterday when it comes to that reputation.
Well, don't you think it's also and that game, week 2, there's going to be a ton of passion. So you have two countries that are playing last night in Miami that have an extreme amount of passion.
Yeah.
And it ignites. I always think about hearing stories of when the Raiders were in Los Angeles and they would play the Chargers, and you didn't want to go to the game because you were head on a swivel the entire game because there were fights everywhere.
LA Raiders.
You had a lot of passion and people that did not like each other.
Right.
But you have a lot of passion in soccer Just the whole situation was a breakdown of it looked like they were not prepared.
Yeah.
I mean, can you imagine if you paid $4,000 for a seat last night and you couldn't sit in it?
Yeah.
Because somebody had broken in and they were sitting in that seat and they wouldn't leave?
Yeah, like they're literally climbing up stairwells to get to a seat that they didn't pay for or they hadn't been a part of. Yeah.
Well, I wonder if they also did. I did not watch it. So the audio and the video were not matching up. So I don't know if something happened because Fox had to go to the world feed for a little bit and then they got it fixed and they came back. I don't know if that was with the crowd. The other issue, and you hear this a lot, especially like at concerts, where they don't let you into the parking lot if you don't have a ticket to the event.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of people that go to Lincoln and will park in the lots that don't have tickets to the game. They might scalp them, but they go there because of the scene and they want to tailgate.
Sure.
And they sit in the parking lot and they watch the game on their big screen.
Mm-hmm.
There are more concerts, especially like stadium concerts, like at Arrowhead, where they have a large parking lot that surrounds it. It might have been for Kenny Chesney that you cannot get in if you do not have a ticket to the event. So you can't just come in and party in the parking lot if you're not going into the concert. It sounded like last night they had thousands of people that just went to Hard Rock Stadium to tailgate.
Yeah.
That had no tickets, and they were the ones that were like,
screw it, we're going.
We're getting in no matter what.
We're finding a way to get in. Yeah. And, you asked the question about if Colorado fans, if there's any Colorado fans that might be a little bit nervous coming into Lincoln on September 7th. There's only one venue that I think I would be extremely nervous going into as a Bears fan. It's not even Green Bay. It's Philadelphia. Because you've heard so many incidents, and wouldn't we all
don't use a porta potty?
Well, wouldn't we all describe Eagle fans or even Philly fans as quote passionate? But at what point do we just say these fans they're hardcore? Use whatever adjective you want to describe them. That's not very pleasant. They're a-holes. I don't think
it can be passionate a-holes.
Nebraska has that reputation, but I think there's always the potential given the right circumstance. And I think that's known beyond our circle. I think that's known, especially with the Colorado circle. And you bring up the 92 game, but and a lot of people are trying to compare what they anticipate September 7th against Colorado looking like in 2014 Nebraska, Miami. It was juiced. I don't know. You'd have to ask a Miami fan. I don't know if it was necessarily hostile towards, well, first of all, A-Rod was up in a box, so it wasn't like he was.
There were a lot of Miami fans here. I didn't hear, and it was more. I remember a lot of the tailgating was pretty friendly.
Yeah, I don't think they were treated badly. I do think there's going to be the sense of, at least pregame, that it won't be maybe as friendly, but I don't think there's going to be incident. I think everything that, if I'm a Colorado fan and I'm a little bit worried about going to that game because of incidents, I think would happen between quarters 1 and 4. I don't think it's pregame or postgame. Postgame would be, obviously, depending on how the thing goes, could be a little interesting too. But I don't think you're necessarily worried about the pregame part of it. It's once you get into Memorial Stadium, and that's when all of that emotion kicks in to where people might lose a little sight of being the pleasant hosts, if you will.
You guys ever gone to a place where you were afraid to wear your gear? Like a road game?
Yeah. Well,
Columbia, Missouri.
Yep. Your place.
So what did you wear? Did you go to the game?
Oh, yeah.
But what did you wear?
I still wore my stuff.
Okay.
Jersey, Red Sox. Yeah.
The third Kansas City Chiefs Bears game I ever went to. Because the first two, I got treated pretty badly. One by a very elderly woman, and then another by a bro. A bro who had he had the old wife beater on.
And it was December.
I don't want to make assumptions of what he does in life, but I think he might have been between jobs. And he came and Chicago got smoked. And I was walking
between jobs.
I was walking by with my tail tucked between my legs, and he just got in my face because I just so happened to be wearing a Bears sweatshirt. It was the year that Peyton Manning was with the Colts, came back the following week because it was the last game of the regular season, and the Colts came into Arrowhead and beat Kansas City, and I was a very big
I remember this.
I was a very big Colts fan that day.
They didn't punt.
I was really happy. But this guy got in my face.
Priest Holmes had a touchdown.
Called me a lot of the B word. Told me to get the hell out of Kansas City. Told me my team sucked in some very colorful language. And my only response is I said, enjoy Peyton Manning coming and wrecking your house. And he had to be held back by his other friend that I also believe was probably in between jobs.
They now work in local politics in Kansas City.
I was at the
Chiefs because
I was at the Jamal Charles.
I've seen it
when Jamal Charles got injured and never came back. The Bears game, Bears ended up coming back and winning that game. And I don't think it's because Chicago won that game, because Bears fans are everywhere too. That was the most pleasant environment, even leading up, because Kansas City was leading that game. We were sitting next to two Chiefs fans, and they were actually really, really nice. So I did have one good incident there, or at least one good experience there. But yeah, the other few haven't been great.
So recently in the Big Ten, the only place that you hear continuously of "I'm never going back there" is Madison.
Mm-hmm.
I've never sat in the stands at Kinnick for a Nebraska-Iowa game. I've either been
nor have I.
I've been working so have not been in the stands, but I don't think I've ever heard like any incidents, either like major incidents outside of the normal.
Yeah, just a little bit of ribbon. Yeah,
in Iowa City or Lincoln. I wonder if there's any place where Nebraska's in the Big Ten on the road where people are afraid to wear the gear.
So I did hear, and I don't know if they're afraid to wear the gear. I did hear,
or vice versa. We're Nebraska nice here. Anybody that is afraid to wear the gear in Memorial Stadium,
I wouldn't think so.
Say Colorado fans, they might think twice. It's the passion will be on full tilt.
Oh, it will be. I'm already anticipating this is going to be like nothing I've ever seen there before. The one game that I don't remember which year it was, but I'd heard more than a few Nebraska fans had a rough incident at State College. And I don't think it was the first.
True.
I don't think it was the first game without Paterno, because remember, everybody it was almost a funeral-like environment. And, you had the uniting of the two teams before with Ron Brown. And so I think there was more of a, hey, we're in this together. We're going to play 4 quarters of football, but we're all in this together. I don't know if might have been the year that the All Whites, or this was in the Big Ten.
Now the non-con year in 2002, that game was ugly. That was,
that
people were spitting
game
on the players.
That I thought I remembered, but there was a game since Nebraska's been a member of the Big Ten. They went to State College. And I heard more than a couple fans say that the Penn State fans were pretty nasty
when they got walked off by a guy named Pat Smith.
That might have been that might have been the game. That might have been the game. That's what happens when you lose to Nebraska and Pat Smith. But my experiences in State College, they've all been on the baseball side, but we actually were there for a spring game.
That's passionate.
Oh, geez, Gary. You want to know one of the more hidden gems in college baseball?
Guy sitting behind the Nebraska dugout is an old Giants fan. He's giving Erstad the business for screwing him out of the World Series.
Yeah, how'd you know?
Why'd he take Russ Ortiz out? It was 5-0.
So I've told you this story. No, we did walk through their parking lot because they had the spring game one weekend, and our Uber would not take us closer to the ballpark because everything was blocked off. So we had to literally walk through the parking lot next to the Beaver Stadium and through the tailgates, and we had our Husker polos on and equipment and everything. Honestly, the only person who gave us some crap, and it wasn't even crap, said, "You guys know you're wearing the wrong color today, right?" And that was it. They were fine.
Hostility.
But it was a spring game too.
Right. Iowa JD says Nebraska fans fear wearing the gear in my home.
I don't really
I
hear that.
I saw him last November. He's not afraid to wear the Iowa gear to
Lincoln. So wait, he's saying they're afraid to wear it in Lincoln, or Nebraska fans are afraid to wear it in Kinnick?
Nebraska fans fear wearing the gear in his house.
Oh, in his house.
Carter Lake. I think his wife's a diehard
I thought he was
Nebraska.
talking about Kinnick being his house.
I think if you know JD, I'd reach out to him because I think his wife's a diehard Nebraska fan.
Okay.
Yeah. Midgets look up to me on Twitter. I'm just going to go on record. September 7th, Colorado gets destroyed in Memorial Stadium, 42-14 beatdown level. Rule and company coming out party. I wore my Husker gear to the Mizzou game in 97. They aren't nice people, especially after OT. That was fun.
Yeah. Oh, that's
part of
Missouri.
Imagine
Manhattan.
Well, imagine in Colombia, because at the tail end of that series, because it was one-sided forever, and it was like the only time people in Colombia would get agitated is because there were so many Nebraska fans that were in Faurot Field.
Mhm.
But at the tail end of the Big 12 with Mizzou and Nebraska, remember, Pinkel and Pelini hated each other.
Yeah.
And so everybody fed into that. And it became, I mean,
Had some juice to it.
We keep mentioning a particular season or two. But, when you had the Kellen Houston incident, those people are out. I mean, Nebraska was a pinata, so they were like, we're going to beat Nebraska. But you remember how angry the night on ESPN that Sue wrecked Mizzou football?
Yeah.
Those fans were livid.
What a great night.
But at the tail end, Mizzou fans coming here, it was not good. Nebraska fans going to Columbia, it was not good.
Yeah.
Because it was the coaches. Because Pinkel and Pelini, they did not hide their distaste for each other.
Yeah.
And so the fans, fans on both sides leaned into it. And also the games, Mizzou football was better. Look at Nebraska beat a really good Mizzou team in 2010.
Am I crazy? Maybe you've heard, because you were on the sidelines.
Roy Halou just scored again.
You were on the sidelines for a lot of this game or these games too. I never heard anything terrible on the back and forth between Oklahoma fans coming to Lincoln and vice versa. I would always think of the ones that I always heard the most of Boulder, and I was a part of that one year. Boulder, Missouri, and even Manhattan a couple times, where when K-State had gotten Nebraska a few times. I remember a lot. I had quite a few friends that went to that Thursday night game when Taylor just absolutely ripped the soul out of Kansas State.
Another beautiful night.
So they were getting a lot of crap before and going into that game until Taylor basically shut everybody up. So I know Manhattan was also another place where I don't want to say you were afraid to wear your red, but you knew going into it, you assumed you were going to get a lot of crap.
One final one here before we take a break. Sean says back in 2002 Penn State game. Yes, the Huskers were walking into the stands, back to the locker room. They were getting it from the Lions fans. Frankly, just calmly blew them an F-U kiss. That's a game where somebody, Richie, Incognito, somebody spit on him.
I'm sure that did not go well.
Could have probably gone to jail that night.
Yep.
Fortunately, there were some teammates that were cooler heads.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Pat says Jimmy, be better in Lawrence. Pat says I wore my Husker gear in Lawrence in 07 and caught the business. Jesus.
See, it was the opposite.
I knew a lot of Nebraska fans went to that game.
Give Pat an extra ticket to a game this year for admitting out loud he went to the 07 game down in
that
Lawrence.
basketball game. Okay,
a lot of fans walked by our tailgate asking us, because we had apparently a bat phone from Mangino to score 100 points.
Hey, there was more. I heard more Nebraska on Nebraska crime in the 07 game.
I believe that.
It wouldn't shock me.
Just in the studio?
No, the people were fighting in the stands, like verbally, of how bad it was.
Oh, I believe
And then
it.
they were giving it. Remember when Osborne Callahan walked by and he was going to try to shake his hand?
Yeah.
And people were like all over TL. You got to fire him now. Fire him now.
Okay, so Mark Kranek and I were at that game. Kranek pointed out something from that game.
Stopped by and said hi.
That I honestly did not even consider, because at this point you knew it was inevitable that this was going to, Callahan wasn't going to survive the end of the season. Then we found out that it was the Kansas game that was supposedly the tipping point. This is before the game started. Bill Callahan getting ready to lead the guys out on the field. Nobody followed him. He just went out, walked about, 15, 20 steps, stopped, realized no one was behind him, and had to do, let's go. Kranek noticed that. And at the time, he's like, dude, I'm telling you right there. That's all you need to know. Nobody followed him. It's done. And I'm like, all right, Mark. And then after the game, I'm like, well, I think the 76 to 30, 70, what was it?
76 to 39.
76 to 39 score.
That score pretty quick.
I know very quick.
Probably had a little something to do with that too, but I'll give him credit. I didn't even consider that at the time. Like, all right, now we're reaching, but there might've been something there.
Hey, Joe Gantz looked good that day though. That's not sarcasm. He did. That was his first start.
Defense didn't look very good that day.
Well, that's a different.
Todd Reesing looked good that day too.
Let's be credit. KU 07 was a good team.
Yeah,
they were.
I looked good that day.
Wasn't the
Chris Harris keep to lead?
Wasn't the KU of the 80s playing Nebraska that day? We got to take a break.
Proud.
Dave Raymond from the All-Star game will join us coming up in the 8 o'clock hour. Evan Bland as well. We'll talk a little football and baseball as Nebraska still in the portal world. Cam Kozel, by the way, going to Arkansas from Millard South, from Vanderbilt to Arkansas. The SEC just dominates. 6 of the first 13 picks last night in the Major League Baseball draft were out of the SEC. Let's talk a little baseball and football with Evan Bland. Jacob Bigelow, our friend on a Monday, joins us as well on 1620 The Zone. Hey, you can join my good friends. This is a big week over at Lindley's Clothing, located 132nd and Dodge in the Linden Market. Their sidewalk sale, they're smart. John and Marlene, they're not going to do a sidewalk sale when it's 100 degrees outside. They're going to wait. This Thursday is the sidewalk sale. Now, you're going to want to get there right on Thursday. All spring, listen to me, all spring and summer menswear, 50 to 70% off original price. David Donahue dress shirts, and we know how comfy those are, 20 to 50% off. I know you're going to love what you're going to find. Lindley Clothing, they've been dressing men for nearly 90 years. Staff is top-notch. They are ready to go. The sidewalk sale at Lindley Clothing starts this Thursday. Runs through Saturday. You got to get there to see John, Marlene, and the rest of the staff. And plus this, John is so excited about the sidewalk sale. If you stop by on Saturday, he'll be behind the grill, making hot dogs, serving cool refreshments. Don't miss Lindley Clothing's annual sidewalk sale that begins this Thursday, 132nd and Dodge in the Linden Market. Pretty good day yesterday for Spanish sports. Alcaraz wins the Wimbledon. Yeah. They win the Euros.
So I told you I'm not a huge tennis guy either, just like soccer. I know. I actually watched.
Carlos got you in, right?
He did, and I've watched Joker play a lot, and the Joker as of late I haven't seen as much of. But remember going through COVID, there's dominant Joker, and then there's Joker who's stepping aside, and I'm just not used to seeing him get so overwhelmed. That was impressive.
Yeah, he was flat yesterday.
Yeah.
He was very, very flat, and that's the wrong person to play against.
Yeah.
Who has got 4 majors and is a generational talent, and you can pass the torch. The big 3 now are giving way to a Spaniard who he is really, really good.
His recoveries were just like, okay, Joker's got that one. Then all of a sudden, nope.
My other takeaway from yesterday is there are people that you see in a suit and you go, that looks odd. Andre Agassi in a suit looks so uncomfortable. So he's at Wimbledon yesterday, and he was sitting there, and he's in a suit. And I'm like, there's a guy that should never be in a suit. No. He just looked like, like you see,
he's old enough now.
Like I tell you see Matt Rule in a suit, and you're like, oh, that's odd.
Still got sneakers on.
You're like, you should be in a hoodie.
See, you know what? Did anybody see Agassi's? Did he have his footwear? Because as everything is retro now, can you bring back the old Agassi tennis shoes? Those were sweet. The old Agassi ones.
You should bring back the hair. He shaves his head now.
But we did learn that was a wig for a while.
What?
No, or was it?
What are you going to?
Oh no! I'm sorry.
Conspiracy Monday.
Well, that's a big deal.
I'm sorry. It was why he wore the hat though, because the top, while he still had the very long, crazy hair, was starting to thin. That's what it was. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to go full wig on him.
Relate to later.
Full toupee on him.
How was the new Costco?
Speaking of underwhelming.
Ooh, okay.
Now, very nice. Don't get me wrong. Very nice. And you can now get a lot of Nike gear.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they have. So they've got the Nike gear out there. You got Nike and Adidas.
Oh, they are about the 3-stripe.
Oh, they are. And you could see that at the one on 120th and Dodge. I think they had some 3 stripes there, but this is the first time I saw Nike stuff. But it was actually, I bet if you went on any given Friday at the Dodge Street one, far more busy than what it was on Maple.
I heard it's spacious.
Very spacious. There was.
Do they have the alcohol in the right place? Because they've messed where the alcohol location at 132nd and Dodge is.
Alcohol is exactly where it is in Dodge. So when you walk in those first aisles off to the left, they've got a lot too. There was, I want to say one more row than what you see off of Dodge. So, I mean, yeah, the store itself was very nice. Everything was very familiar as far as where things were supposed to be. But I thought there was going to be samples galore and all of these crazy things that they were supposed to do on what apparently Costco grand openings are amazing. Nothing. I mean, they had normal samples. Nothing crazy. Wasn't getting like a full hot dog.
I heard they were overcharging people.
Yeah, oh, yeah. So then there was the tax thing.
Yeah, Channel 6 did a story on Friday.
So I asked Jenny if we should go back and get our reimbursement from the tax because we got taxed the wrong way. Like maybe get 50 cents back. Got a pair of pants, a good deal for $17. Pretty excited about those.
Big day in the Handley household on Friday.
Yeah, she grabbed two pairs of shorts. I got some pants, and then we walked away. Yeah, she had to get. Really, we had no reason to go there. We didn't, as far as groceries, but we just checked it out and walked away still with probably over $100 of stuff.
Day. Meanwhile, I took a strong edible and laid at the pool.
Well, I thought it would be chaotic. We went around 2. And as we got in the park, I'm like, damn, there are a lot of spots available. And it was just very. So I've now gone through.
So I can go back to Maple today.
Oh yeah, you could.
Okay.
Yeah, I've now gone through my Costco grand opening. I was very disappointed. I thought, have you guys ever been to a Walmart in Mexico?
Not recently. Okay. No.
I know it's random.
No.
Okay, we did once. It was
you mean
a party.
Not in Tijuana, you didn't go there.
This was on the Riviera Maya side. We went because we were. This was one of my wife's. It was a work trip that they gave the employees, and so we got done golfing. But we had to. It wasn't like an all inclusive. We're in these 2 different haciendas, and so if you wanted alcohol, you had to go and get it. Well, we were right next to a Walmart where the Mayakoba golf course is, so we went there just to get a lot of booze. And my God, that Walmart was a party. They had a DJ there. I mean, it was it was like the place to be. If you bought meat, they would cook it for you if you wanted it cooked right there.
Damn.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a party. So I guess I assumed
That Costco would be like
would
this?
have like a DJ spinning, like "Welcome Costco
Shaq.
customer." Like it was very flat, man. I went in with obviously my expectations were a little high.
Have a hairball concert there.
Yeah,
You know,
I thought at least Friday night maybe some fireworks. Friday night.
animals,
I would have thought fireworks.
an elephant.
Nothing. Just say, hey, we're open. Come over.
So, Chancellor Lee from UNO was there.
She got her hot dog. I saw. Yep.
She's a
I didn't see her there.
lady amongst the people.
She is. When you mingle
We can
amongst
relate.
Costco folks. Yeah.
You guys have a secret handshake like it is to the badge. And
Something like that. I don't know. Probably couldn't see that.
No.
No.
But it sounded good.
Yeah.
And it looked good. Trust me, it looked good.
sound like a Pete tweet on steroids.
Kind of, yeah.
Quick break. We'll come back. Dave Raymond's going to join us in the next hour. Evan Bland as well. Plus Jacob Bigelow on a big, big day. Rest easy. NCAA football 4,023 days. And it comes to an end today.
Ooh, yeah.
CFB 25 for you early accessors. You get it. For the rest of us, this real people, Friday is our day.
Yeah. My day.
1620 the zone. All right, Dave Raymond, television voice of the Rangers, coming up here in a little bit. This discussion got a little wild last night in Miami at Hard Rock Stadium. The passion of two countries playing for a championship in soccer does not mean that you can just all of a sudden storm the gates and climb through AC vents.
But Gary, we got passionate fan base.
Yeah,
that's how we excuse all of that behavior,
This
that
is-
knucklehead behavior.
We'll see when we get to the World Cup. The talent for the World Cup will be amazing, but we'll be able to handle it in the country. And what would it be like if we got two extremely passionate countries playing for
At
the
Arrowhead.
No, if they announced either New York or LA, I would imagine is the final, or
Yes.
Jerry's World.
I think. Why did I think?
I think
it was LA?
Arrowhead is the closest to here, and it's hosting 6
Yep.
matches. They don't know who yet.
Right.
And it's supposed to be like the home training ground for like 3 countries. Hey, America, we got the World Cup in 26. We got the Olympics in LA in 28. And we got love between Nebraska and Oklahoma fans. So let me read a couple of tweets here. MetLife, thank you, Jacob Bigelow, who will join us in an hour. Glad that he's listening. A lot of people come on this show and they've never listened to the show
He likes to
before.
prepare. Likes to know what curveballs we might throw.
He's
him.
a loyal zone listener.
Chris, loyal zone listener, and a winner of a summer prize pack.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Went to Norman in 2021. OU fans were great. It was like a family reunion. Tons of fans mentioned they missed us and the rivalry. On the stream, Corey says, I went to the Nebraska-Oklahoma Big 12 championship game in Arrowhead, and the OU fans were great. We actually shared a hatred for Texas and some.
You got the commonality.
Now, so this is a little bit, we were talking about what the temperature will be like in Memorial Stadium in week 2.
81.
He no longer is in television. You actually worked with him. Man, 81 on a Saturday night.
Oh, it'd be
About 84
No,
degrees.
no clouds.
Yep.
Mm.
Light breeze.
Give me that.
So you worked with him over at when he was at Channel 3. So Mike DiGiacomo,
Yeah.
who I knew as one of the people that played with Groove Puppet in Lincoln. That's where I first met Mike.
Yep.
So big fan of Mike.
He's a man of many talents.
But he was a TV guy, so he was at Channel 7, and then he went to Channel 3, and then he was doing that sideshow. What was that sideshow?
The
called?
Morning Blend.
The Morning Blend.
Yeah.
Then I kind of lost track with him. I think he still owns a bar.
Yeah.
Doesn't he?
Blackstone Social. Now they have a West
Oh,
location as
okay.
well. Yep.
All right, so good on him.
Good spot,
But-
too.
So in 2002, Mike did a story on KTV before the Nebraska-Colorado game where he dressed up as a Colorado fan, and he hung outside of the stadium.
Oh, this is good.
And so was interacting with fans. I think part of it was looking for tickets.
Yeah.
And so he was just trying to see who was going to sell to him and how he's going to be treated. And if I remember the piece, like there was an older lady, of course there was at Nebraska, that not the older lady, but being very nice, that I'm like, welcome. I hope people treat you well. And then some other people, because I think Mike leaned into the thing, because his face was painted gold. He had a black wig on.
He's a method
He was like
actor.
wearing a
You have to-
Colorado jacket.
Yeah.
Like some people are like, bozo, get lost.
Yeah.
I don't know if he went into the stands. Now that would be an experiment to dress as a Colorado fan, smack dab in the middle of Nebraska fans.
Just wearing your prime gear. Well, we
Falcons
know one.
Dion
We know one that
jersey.
doesn't have to pretend. We can get his take on how it will go on the 7th. He's right here in this building, so doesn't have to pretend.
Told you. We can email him. Ask
Do you
him.
know another
afraid?
recent series where people were treated extremely well in both venues? When Oregon came here.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I've heard of that.
Literally the Oregon non-conference game
Mhm.
in 16. That is of non-conference opponents. Those are the most fans
Yeah.
I've seen. I mean, Oregon
Yeah.
fans were everywhere. And then when you went out
It's
to
hard to
Eugene,
miss.
when you went out to Eugene the following year, and maybe it had a little bit to do with 42-7 at one point in that game,
Mhm.
the Oregon fans were great.
That's what I heard.
They love Nebraska fans out there, and Oregon fans were treated great here. Some people I remember saying Oregon brought at least 10,000 fans here. I haven't been here in a long time.
Wouldn't shock me.
I remember that on the TV.
Well, and
But Oregon fans were everywhere, and they were super cool.
I think that's a college football fan base that when you get to play in venues that have been historical in nature and that have been propped up to be the must-see
You got to see it
game day
once.
atmospheres. Yep. I could see Oregon fans appreciating that. So even if they didn't get in the stadium, they were probably pretty excited to be even in Lincoln. Just as
Out on the vents.
I know a lot of people wanted to see Autzen Stadium that made sure that they went on that trip knowing that it could possibly go bad.
That's
They wanted to see
why.
it.
That's why, Dannon, do not mess with the Nebraska-Tennessee series. People want to go to Knoxville. And the way that we treated Tennessee fans here for the College World Series,
Yeah.
they'll treat Nebraska fans great down there, right? For football?
Of course they will, because they're both the same, those sports, and the way that they handle it. Totally the same.
Now, remember when Nebraska took over Notre Dame Stadium?
Yep. Beware what you wish for.
Those fans were okay towards Nebraska fans for the most part, except for spitting on Crouch when he scored in overtime. They were more upset at themselves.
Yeah,
and
at their own fans.
Notre Dame fans.
Yeah, their own fans that
out.
sold the tickets, yeah.
Tell the story of Paul Horning. He's on our pregame show, and he leans out of the booth, and he's swearing at Notre Dame fans for selling out in the middle of the interview. And I'm like, what's going on? It was already kind of off the rails.
Yeah.
And he just got, and because we were,
not just because you have blonde
people
hair.
were filing in, and he was like, hold on 1 second.
Two times in my lifetime.
Heisman Trophy winners, one of the greatest players ever at Notre Dame, is out the window going, "No, you bad butt." I'm like, wow. All right.
There are 2 times in my lifetime of watching a Nebraska football game on TV that they've gone to the open shot of the stadium that I was just like, holy cow. That game and the Nebraska Colorado.
In 19.
Yeah. When they it was a full-on takeover.
Yeah.
It was unbelievable.
Right. Well, if you're on your online game today and you look at Memorial Stadium, you would think, who's Nebraska playing that they came in white?
Who has the road whites?
Yeah, that's a bad one.
Tweak
a lot of white in the Memorial Stadium crowd.
Sounds like a software update. They could tweak that.
I don't know if it's that easy. Dave Raymond from the Texas Rangers joins us next.
Halftime brought to you by Omaha Whiskey Fest 2024, the largest celebration of whiskey in the region, coming your way September 28th. And be on the lookout right here on 1620 The Zone, right here on Mornings with Sharp and Handley for Whiskey Wednesdays.
All right, tonight is the Home Run Derby in Arlington, Texas. Tomorrow is the All-Star Game, and our good friend Dave Raymond, who is the television voice of the Texas Rangers, joins us on this fine Monday morning. Dave, thanks for your time. Welcome back. Good morning.
Thank you. Good morning to you guys. Little break from football expectations today. Talk some baseball.
Yeah.
If you'd like to talk about playing a video game, we could also talk about that.
Ooh, what video?
I think you're all into it.
College Football 25 comes out. People are losing their mind today. So maybe we do need the Home Run Derby. What's the impact of hosting the All-Star Game for the Rangers on the heels of winning the World Series last year?
So, here's the thing about that. As a franchise, people love the idea of being able to host the All-Star Game because, quite honestly, they will leverage it on season ticket holders and fans. You know, hey man, make sure you come to 5 games a year, get a 20 game pack this year, and you'll get access to All-Star Game tickets, stuff like that. The other great mechanism to improve your ticket sales in baseball is to win a championship. And so the Rangers, it turns out, they were thrilled to death to get this when it was announced. So, oh my gosh, we're going to get the All-Star Game. And they started immediately marketing it. But then they went out and won the whole thing last year, and it didn't matter in terms of at least ticket sales. So the boost you get on ticket sales is really what it's all about, because here's what I've learned. I did not know this. When you get the All-Star Game, the team itself, you are a vessel for Major League Baseball to come host their big party. This is, we do a lot of work. The Rangers do a lot of work around the event and to help with the event. But it's Major League Baseball. All the tickets, they sell those tickets. It's Major League Baseball revenue that they share with all 30 teams. All the events surrounding it, Major League Baseball, they run everything. It's kind of crazy. So you're the host of a party that you're more or less invited to. The big advantage would be that you get to, try and get a little more, squeeze a few more nickels out of your fans. But so it hasn't ended up being a big deal that way for the Rangers, but it is nonetheless for your fans and your fan base. I think more importantly, really, is that you bring in all of this talent and you have these great events. And so maybe people on the periphery get really excited about baseball, get exposed to it in a way that's a little bit different. And maybe you create some more fans that way. I think that the Home Run Derby, of course, has been really, really powerful in that respect.
Well, and along those lines, Dave, last time we talked to you, Rangers are in the postseason. They were, and I believe we talked to you right before Game 1 of the World Series. So we knew they were headed to the World Series. From that point on to where they are now, as far as the overall Texas Ranger fan, and where I'm assuming you've seen even more people jump on board, and then you culminate that, like you just said, with the All-Star Game and having that excitement. What has it been like to be a Texas Ranger fan here over the last 8 months?
Well, I mean, pretty great, unprecedented. Unprecedented. They've had good runs in the past. 2010 and 11, they went to back-to-back World Series, but did not win. And the 2011 World Series was soul-crushing. And honestly, I think it hurt people so badly in 2011 that some of them weren't really convinced that they could allow themselves that relationship again. And so last year, I think, pulled a really, really tough Band-Aid off for a lot of folks. And yeah, it was really cathartic. I was the whole experience of winning it, the parade, and just the euphoria over the off season was really interesting to see. And I guess, in those types of events, maybe none of us really know what to expect. And it's always a surprise, but it was. I mean, I think everything about it was not what you would think. I was stunned at the depth of emotion from people and the width, right? How far out it spread, how many people were really touched by it. So it's been a truly, truly remarkable, once in a lifetime experience. And the other thing is, and Bruce Bochy's made this point, and Corey Seager, their all-star shortstop, has made this point, that it's one thing to win a championship, let's say with the Yankees or the Cardinals or people who have been there before. I mean, it's always going to be a special thing. But to be the ones who brought that first one to a city, into a franchise, it's immortalizing. No one, for decades and decades, well past we're all dead, people will talk about Bruce Bochy and Corey Seager and these people here. And that's even cooler still. So there are all these really amazing aspects to it, but it's been a wonderful ride.
The first series out of the All-Star break will be the Rangers in Baltimore. Dave, if you're looking at the American League, and you got Cleveland, Baltimore, Seattle, all lead divisions, what American League team do you not want to face in October?
So, if you're fortunate enough to get in and get to October, and like you say, let's assume that Cleveland, Baltimore, and Seattle are in. And that's a big assumption with Seattle. Mm-hmm. They're leading the division by a game right now over Houston. Baltimore's really scary. They can just pound lumps on teams. They are very thin, though, on pitching. And the other side of that, the exact other end of the spectrum, are the Seattle Mariners. They can't seem to score. You could load the bases, you start every inning with the bases loaded, and they might not score. But, man, their pitching is good. To me, the team you worry about, then, based on that, are the Seattle Mariners. I don't know if they're going to be able to hold on. I don't know if they'll be able to score enough runs to get there. They might, and it depends. They could make a big move here toward the trade deadline. But if you're talking about just American League teams right now, I think the team that would concern you as much as any would have to be the Seattle Mariners. And a lot of folks, they just don't get exposed to them. You don't get there's the West Coast, and then there's Seattle.
That's true. That is so true.
They're just tucked up there and all by themselves. But man, they're guys like Logan Gilbert, George Kirby, Luis Castillo. They've got some studs in that pitching staff. And again, people aren't that familiar with them. But man, let me tell you, they are really, really good. And they also know how to pitch. They're clever in their front office, their game planning. They're tough.
Okay, and about the Rangers in that division, you mentioned with Seattle up by one game, Rangers are only 5 games back. A decent July here as the first half ends. What's Texas going to be at the trade deadline?
It's my belief that the Rangers will stand pat. I don't think there's, first of all, it was out there for the last couple of weeks that, they might sell, if things don't turn around, they might be tempted to dump guys. No way. There's no way. I just don't buy that. They're too good. And I still think they may well win this division. I was talking to a scout the other day in Anaheim for a National League team. I don't want to give them away. And we were talking about teams in the division, and he's like, the Rangers are still the best team in this division. Yes, you've dipped to third recently. You're 5 games out, but this is the best all-around team in the division. And there aren't really a lot of needs. The thing the Rangers have going for them is they have 2 big-time position players coming back after the break from injury. And Evan Carter, who was a savior last year for them, and Josh Young, their third baseman, is a stud. They've got guys like Jacob deGrom and Tyler Mahle coming back off the injured list, which will help their rotation, bump guys from the rotation to the bullpen, and thus help their bullpen. They honestly just don't really need to make too many moves. If they do, it'll be something small in the margin. So, and I still think that they're good enough to win the division. I don't know if they will, but they're good enough to, certainly. So, and I do think, for the same reasons I enumerated with Seattle, I think the Rangers could be very scary. If they're running out Eovaldi, deGrom, Scherzer in a postseason series, well, there's really nobody who can match that. Yeah. So if they can get there, they could be a threat again.
Dave Raymond, television voice of the Texas Rangers, joining us. And with the All-Star game being in Arlington tonight, home run derby tomorrow, the All-Star game, it's great to see so many young players. They seem like they all play shortstop, but you've got all these under 27 guys that are must watch. And one of those guys is Paul Skeens. Dave, you've been around the game enough. You've seen some phenoms toe the slab, but then they undergo Tommy John, and they're never the same. He's captured baseball again. Like, he's being mentioned with Fernando Valenzuela. I mean, we're going way back. But in your opinion, what kind of impact can Paul Skeens have on baseball right now?
Well, he's the kind of guy who can capture an entire generation of fans. And I was really proud of Major League Baseball, the National League, Torey Lovello, the manager for the National League team, for naming him the starter. He is a curious dude, man. A man of few words. He's got a certain innocence to him, but he's nasty.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he is one of the most amazing arms that we have seen emerge on the scene. And I think Fernando Valenzuela is a nice comp, because when Fernando showed up, Fernando Mania just took over, and it was amazing. I think Doc Gooden is another kind of good example. And if you want to go back a little bit further, Mark Fidrich, the Bird, back with Detroit in the 70s, I think is a similar type thing. Guys who are just so compelling and so good and unique. They were just different than other guys. And Paul Skeens, man, when he goes out there, you talk about appointment viewing. Now, I've had this conversation with people this year, and I have no idea why it's come up this way, but they're great baseball talents, as you point out. But to me, and may the Lord strike me down after we get off this conversation. No, but Mike Trout, to me, is talented and skilled and as decorated as his career has been. Is not really appointment viewing for me. Yes, he's good, but he comes up 4 times a game, and okay.
Mm-hmm.
I know he can do a lot of things great. Ohtani is certainly in that conversation of guys, but when you talk about, to me, it's like the Randy Johnsons, the Pedro Martinez's, Jacob deGrom. To me, there's an electricity when some of these guys go out there, and baseball needs starting pitchers. That's how we used to decide what games were worthy of our attention.
Yep.
But Paul Skeens, anytime he's pitching, I'm on high alert. I want to know, is it opposite our game? Is it earlier? Can I catch some of it? I want to see him throw. He is, such a special talent. So I think that's going to make this All-Star game just so memorable to so many people, because here's this kid who a year ago was in college, and now he's starting the All-Star game for the National League, and he is going to dazzle. It's going to be awesome.
Well, and this is the next, the 48 hours where Major League Baseball gets to showcase not only the Paul Skeens, their phenoms, but also, like you mentioned, the Mike Trout type players. And I know he's obviously dealing with injury, but those types of players that we've known to be in Major League Baseball a lot longer. You showcase it all, and I don't know if I'm a victim of the moment right now. One of my biggest gripes, Dave, with Major League Baseball was, compared to NFL and even the NBA, that Major League Baseball does not market their studs as well as the other leagues do, the other professional leagues do. And it seems like, as of late, whether we're talking about Ohtani, whether we're talking about what Paul Skeens is doing right now, that Major League Baseball has done more of that. Now, my question for you is, though, is it that talent that you see from these guys that's just generational talent? Does that market itself where Major League Baseball doesn't have to do anything extra? Or do you see more emphasis from Major League Baseball trying to showcase and market their true future stars and current stars of the game more so than they have the last few years?
I think it's a great question. First of all, it is a tremendous concern, and has been for years, right? Mm-hmm. How do we make these guys a bigger deal to fans? Baseball is a really local game, really regional game, and that's makes it unique from others. You're a big deal in your town, but maybe not around the country. Mm-hmm. And there's some charm to that, but they do need to do a better job, I think, in really getting after it with some of these guys. Bobby Witt Jr. is a great example in Kansas City. But to answer your question, I think sometimes you just get lucky, and you have this surge of great young players, and players with some, a little panache, a little personality, whatever it is. They're just in as you also pointed out, a lot of them at shortstop right now, the premium position on the field. But when you have Gunnar Henderson and Bobby Witt Jr. in the home run derby and then in the All-Star game, that's a big deal. Paul Skeens on the mound. So I think you're kind of riding a little wave of good fortune that you have so much great young talent coming at the time. I don't know that we've figured out yet exactly how to market these guys individually. I think video games help, right? I think MLB The Show is helpful, just to tie it back to how we kind of opened this thing. But it's a challenge. It's a real challenge. But the other dynamic that I think we've seen in recent years, and I was having this conversation last night with a bunch of folks, is something has changed in the last, let's say, 5 to 10 years, where college baseball and the World Series in Omaha has just, it's always been a wonderful event, and people have always adored it. But it's become a much bigger animal. And it's I think it's capturing the imagination of a lot of fans.
Yeah.
And we're seeing the jump a lot quicker from there. And Wyatt Langford, who was so great last year's World Series, has been the talk of this season for the Rangers in a lot of ways. And it's so cool. And guys like Skeens. So they go from the College World Series one year, the next year they're the biggest thing in baseball. That's huge for both college baseball and for Major League Baseball. I think if we can start seeing that transition happen a little more frequently, then both are going to be buoyed quite a little bit. And I think there's a natural marketing that kind of happens that way. So, and I don't know if it's intentional, but I do know that every team has cut back on the depth of their minor league system. The draft is shorter. It's been cut more than in half in recent years. So it seems as if there's a concerted effort to develop more talent at the college level and then have them transition quickly to the big league level. And I think it really works. I think it's got great power. So maybe that was intentional. I don't know. But it seems like two bodies operating separate of one another, and they're both just sort of drafting on one another's success. So who knows how it's happened, but I do think there is definitely something in the air right now that's really working.
Dave, as always, we appreciate it. Always enjoy your work on Valley Sports Southwest. Enjoy the little bit of a downtime for the All-Star break before it ramps up on Friday. As always, you're always welcome here.
Yeah, thanks so much, fellas. Looking forward to, we can't be too many more weeks away, but go Big Red.
Yeah. Pride of Gehring, Nebraska. Dave, thank you.
All right, guys. Take care.
That's Dave Raymond, television voice of the Texas Rangers. You know what? We live in a pretty cool sports world. We have a pretty cool job getting to talk sports with all of you. But this year, we have seen the professional debut of Wemby, Caitlin Clark, and Paul Skeens. That's pretty cool.
You're right.
When you think about it, 3 generational talents. But here's, as he was talking about Skeens, and I love Skeens. His girlfriend loves me, but I love Skeens. It's a weird dynamic.
And her sister.
Yeah. Those were the days. People tuning in now are like,
what?
Did Sharpie?
Yeah. Did you have one night in Omaha?
Yeah.
Like everyone's had a night in Omaha.
Was that Risen really true? Isn't it interesting how you have Paul Skeens? He's starting the All-Star game. A lot of people might be triggered by that are playing in the All-Star game. Instead, they're like, this is great for our sport. How men treat men compared to how women treat women in their reception to Caitlin Clark.
Yeah.
The guys in baseball are embracing that Paul Skeens is important. The women in basketball are giving the cold shoulder to Caitlin Clark.
Yeah.
Isn't that interesting?
It is. And this is where
women, you so damn petty against each
other.
other.
Well, that's kind of where I'm going with this. Is I think a lot of it, and I could be totally off, but the way that I observe this with Caitlin Clark is your Diana Taurasi's,
which, by the way, she might give her a gift. She's injured. Caitlin Clark could be on the Olympic team.
But all of the really good players have been doing it for over a decade in the WNBA. It's always been a thing. It's always gotten a little of attention, but not nearly as much as it's getting right now. I mean, you even had Angel Reese try to deflect the attention away from just one individual to their entire rookie class, which what Angel Reese is doing is justified.
Love me some pettiness in that sport.
But it is. I think it's all of a sudden there's that many more eyeballs. There's that many more media demands. There's that many more tickets, especially when Indiana is playing whatever team that you're going up against, and you're seeing more butts in the seat and you're seeing more people in line to want to get a Caitlin Clark autograph, even for teams that it's not even Indiana. It's the opposition. They want the Caitlin Clark autograph when they don't necessarily even want their home team players' autographs. I think naturally there's well, what the hell? We've been doing this for so long. We haven't been getting attention. Now all of a sudden this player comes along and now people want to talk about it and pay attention to it. What the hell? I just think there's natural resentment there. And it's also probably a situation of her earning her stripes amongst her peers in that league, trying to fulfill the expectation of what she came out of college into the pro level. And I think that's going to take time. I think 2 or 3 years into it, okay, now you're one of us. We accept you. And if the eyeballs and the attention is still on it, then we're going to finally celebrate that. But this year, I think there is a lot of pushback of, we've been doing this for years and y'all ain't paying attention.
I'm fired up to watch Skeens pitch. Him strike out Aaron Judge.
Mm-hmm. I hope he gets 2 innings.
Let's take one. I'll take at least one. Then we can go from there. People are saying on the stream, Paul Skeens' baseball is Caitlin Clark. How come they don't say Caitlin Clark is baseball is Paul Skeens? It's 8:30. They don't.
Nope.
That's answer your question.
Nope, they don't.
By the way, things that trend on Twitter that you look at in a glance, you're like, oh man, we've lost, because it was a rough weekend this weekend.
Yeah.
Why is Linda Ronstadt trending? Before I click on this, do you know, Jimmy?
I do not know. Maybe she's committed to play for Rule. Let's see. I'm trying to be positive.
It's her 78th birthday.
Oh, okay. So she's still alive. She's having a birthday.
X, we don't need that.
Yeah, there was somebody else over the weekend that was trending, and I had to look, and it wasn't because of that. It was Melissa McCarthy. You can fill in the blanks on that one. Had to do with Secret Service detail.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay, I thought it might be Mike and Molly.
Thinking of Andrew McCarthy.
Are we talking a reboot? Let's go. Did you ever watch one episode of Mike and Molly?
Yes.
Oh, you did? Oh, wow. Good for you.
I'm not afraid to admit, okay, I'm going to be on an island.
Oh,
I watched Big Bang Theory.
I did too.
I watched Mike and Molly.
I did not.
I watched Bob Hart's Abishola. I watched The Neighborhood. I actually watch real television that's CBS, NBC, or ABC. I'm not afraid to admit it. Okay. No, because there are some shows out there.
Your journey is your journey.
No, there
Gary.
are.
I'm not going to
admit this. There are some shows out there.
Yeah,
that you secretly watch that you enjoy.
I like the Big Bang Theory,
but the general think tank
in the heat of the night
destroys that show. Like I was amused by Big Bang Theory, but I can't say this on this radio station because I absolutely get crushed.
You're not going to get crushed by me.
Then I got to go, well, have you seen Kelly Coco? And she's a big Nebraska fan.
You got to somehow try to win people over by saying, well, that's why I first paid attention. And then I just got
wear a Zach Lee jersey in one of the episodes.
I liked the show. I was late to the show, but I actually didn't mind it. I thought every time I saw a promo for it, I'm like, this looks awful. And actually, like, oh, it's kind of funny.
Thought it was a sequel to 8 Simple Rules to Dating My Teenage Daughter.
Are you going to tell? Oh, you. I think you admitted this once. You did watch Two Broke Girls, didn't you?
Yeah, because I was so bad that I couldn't stop watching it.
It looked awful. It looked so bad.
It was awful.
I didn't watch
it's one of those shows I couldn't stop watching.
Just watch for Kat Dennings.
Well, and what's her name that is now super popular from White Lotus, who is
Stifler's mom.
She won't quit.
Yeah.
She won't quit doing the commercial for.
It's a credit card company. Is it Capital One?
That or pharmaceutical.
Or
she was on there. It was a bad show that I couldn't stop watching for some reason.
So it was the full train wreck effect.
It was.
Okay.
Evan Bland of the World Herald.
Fun with that.
Will join us next on 1620 The Zone. All right, the SEC Media Day is going on today, beginning in Dallas. Right around the corner is the Big Ten Media Days in Indianapolis, where Evan Bland and the entire Omaha World Herald crew will be. But Evan, first, before he starts walking to Indy, stops here for his weekly visit. Good morning. How are you?
Man, that travel budget.
Morning, guys. Doing all right. How are you?
He's got to go on foot now.
Hey, let's. Hey, you gotta have Sam open up the wallet there at the World Herald. Let's start with baseball because Tyson Lewis drafted yesterday, 51st overall by Cincinnati, the Millard West product, who had a great year. So him and his dad are both drafted. So that's kind of a nice little side note. There are other local high school products that could be drafted, but Josh Caron is probably the most one that people are going to watch. And I don't know if it matters because, as you wrote the other day, Evan, his plan is not to come back. Where do you think Nebraska's catcher, Josh Caron, will go in the draft, today or tomorrow?
I think he'll go today. I think he'll, I don't know, maybe the 4th or the 5th round, somewhere in that range, probably midday today. And, he went to the pro combine in Phoenix last month, and a lot of the folks down there said that, they love the power. They loved how he kind of took over as a team leader and leading the staff this year. And so, I think there's just a lot there that talent evaluators like. He was a steady riser at Nebraska all the way to this year. He should have been all Big Ten. He was the biggest all Big Ten snub in Nebraska history, maybe, with what he did this year. I think 4th, 5th round, which would make him the 2nd highest drafted Nebraska catcher ever, which is kind of a cool little footnote. I think he's fully intending to move on unless something crazy happens. And Nebraska's anticipating that he moves on. If you look at the moves they made with Hogan Haligso out of Creighton and some of the other junior college ads they made. So it seems like it's kind of a formality and just a matter of where and how much at this point. But I would imagine it would happen fairly early today.
And we were just talking about this in the 7:00 hour. Max Butenbach is going to be a Northwoods League All-Star. We know the position that he plays. Josh Caron, if he gets drafted, Gary mentions Hogan Haligso coming over from Creighton, and we know the steady rise of him. I think about this now over the last month. If you're Will Bolt and you are starting to recruit for future classes or even trying to finalize some additional roster spots right now, I don't know if I can remember here in the last 5 to 10 years a better offseason momentum-wise for this baseball program where we continue to see, whether it's Spencer Schwellenbach versus Matt Waldron, whether we see Spencer versus Cade Povich. We've seen the major league chatter. We've seen guys doing you still got 2 representatives in the Cape League as well. And you've got people looking at Nebraska as a transfer destination from a rival like Creighton. I don't know. Maybe I'm going too far with this, but then you also get a guy that could go on the second day, and Josh Caron. Just been very positive for this baseball program here this last month.
It has. Yeah, a lot of good stuff. And I think you could add to that the fact that they've done really well in retaining the roster that they had. I mean, they've had 4 or 5 guys depart, but they've been either young guys or guys who maybe weren't projected to have a major role on the team next year. So you bring back the core of what you figured that you could bring back. And I guess we'll find out here in the next few days a couple of those other pieces. How do scouts view Gabe Swanson? What does Gabe Swanson want to do after the finish that he had? So, if I had to say today, my hunch would be that he would be back. I think he kind of felt like he left some performance on the table there, and I don't know that scouts necessarily saw what he did as happening over a big enough sample size for what they're looking for. So, that's one that's kind of interesting to watch. Drew Christo is one that's sort of fascinating to watch too, because he's been popping up on some of these top 500 prospect lists, and he's a junior with some leverage who could potentially maybe look at that next step. But really, like, they're not going to lose a lot, relatively speaking, to the draft. They retained what they had. Like you mentioned, you can look at the major leagues right now, and it's about as busy of a Husker place as it's ever been in recent memory, certainly. I mean, you're seeing guys out there every day, every few days that are keeping Nebraska front of mind. And then, I think too, you add just even the little schedule nugget that they had about Nebraska going to the Frisco Classic, and they're going to play
Good call.
LSU next year, and Kansas State and Sam Houston, and like that's a cool showcase event for recruits too. So yeah, I think there's a lot of positives, a lot of momentum. Rob Childress is still there as your pitching coach. There's just a lot going on, I think, with the program right now that gives them, hope that, maybe they can string NCAA tournament appearances together and really start producing pro talent at a consistent level that they haven't done in quite a while.
Hey, before we jump into a couple little football discussion, back to Drew Christo. I didn't think, watching him come out of Elkhorn High, I didn't think we'd be sitting here on his draft eligible year going, you know what? He might be back for his fourth year.
Mm-hmm.
So it took him a while to get to the point that he did this year, where from May 1 on, he was pretty good. That was the Drew Christo that we kind of expected. So let's say he doesn't get drafted and he comes back for his final year. What do you think what do you think his usage will be like, or his role will be like on next year's team?
Well, I think there's a good chance that he would be a starter. I mean, he was a starter at times down the stretch and was really effective in that role. And you're going to have to replace Brett Sears and kind of figure out, really, you're going to have Mason McConaughey, and you're going to have to kind of figure out what the rest of that rotation can look like. But you hear him talk about the effect that Rob Childress had on him, just in his mechanics and how he went about pitching. Like, that to me is an interesting piece. Like, what's another year of that look like with those guys working together and teaming up? Christo already had the stuff. He already has the makeup in terms of the personality and how he prepares and who he is and all that. A lot of it's just been a matter of consistency in the zone, consistency with the kind of pitches that he wants to throw. I know he's kind of tinkered around with some different offerings in the last year that have been effective for him. So I think Nebraska would love it if he were a rotation guy next year and was able to, give him 5 or 6 consistently and be that senior leader. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like, look at Brett Sears, for crying out loud. Yeah. I mean, he as a junior, he was probably done just based on what he did at Nebraska, sort of a so-so middle reliever. And then he breaks out. Like, that could be Drew Christo. Like, that's all you have to do is look at your teammate and kind of what he did. So I think that'd be the ideal. And if that doesn't work out, and Christo's a guy who gives you 2 innings in middle relief or sort of a 7th and 8th inning sort of guy, like, teams need that too. So I think there are a lot of ways that he could help. But yeah, ideally, when you look at the context of Nebraska and what it's going to need, I think a starter would probably be the preference.
Evan, this time next week when we talk, we'll be getting into Big Ten Media Day storylines, and I know there'll be a lot of the Nebraska angle that you guys will do a great job of getting out to the audience. But I saw Sam write about this too, and I'm curious about your thoughts when it comes to a lot of the main headlines in Big Ten Media Days, but when Nebraska hits the podium, when their student athletes speak, what that overall theme will be. And I thought Sam talked about a lot of that sense of urgency. There's this being that year that people are really going to have a chance to see what Matt Rule and this roster is about. Is that the place you think Nebraska should be very comfortable in? Is not maybe having a lot of those major expectations, but just knowing that a 1-2 jump should not only be an acceptable conversation, but should somewhat be expected. I know it's weird sometimes putting expectations in front of this football program, but are we now at that point with this football team after just 1 year of Matt Rule that it's okay to put some of those expectations in front of them?
Yeah, I think they'll probably touch on that a little bit, but to me, maybe the message would be more, okay, you guys have expectations for us. Here's why you should have expectations for us. Mm-hmm. And so, like, I think that would give them the platform to sort of spread the good news about Nebraska, like they've done a really good job of this offseason. So I think they'll talk about their staff size and about their nutrition program and about their new weight room and about, Dylan Raiola and about their coaching staff. Like, that to me is probably the message that I would lead with is, okay, again, were high on the national list of potential breakouts. Matt Rule's reputation at Temple and Baylor is what it is. And now, wow, here's all that combined with the resources that Nebraska has. And so, I mean, that's just, to me, that's kind of felt like the theme of the offseason. You think about Matt Rule rolling out more than a dozen off the field staffers and personnel to like just get the word out about what they do and what Nebraska can offer. And you see the social media videos that are put out there and the work that they do to put in, that they put into those. To me, this is an extension of that. And then you think about the guys who are representing Nebraska there. I mean, Ty Robinson's going to be able to talk about why he came back for a sixth season. And then Ben Scott's going to be able to talk about why he transferred to Nebraska. And Isaac Gifford's going to say what this program means to people locally and how much maybe it's changed in his time there. So like that, I feel like that's kind of the message, and you have the players in place to sort of bear that out or put individual stories to it. And then I think the other piece I would add too is like, relatively speaking, this has been a quieter off season for Nebraska, and it feels like the first time in a couple of years where the focus is actually on the football. You know, we're going to be talking about the schedules, and we're going to be talking about the defensive consistency and about why the offense can be better, right? We're not maybe caught up in Ireland prep or first year new coach or whatever. Like it just kind of feels like the main thing is sort of the main thing this year. And I think that fits right into Nebraska's wheelhouse and what it wants to be about.
If Nebraska, let's play a little fill in the blank here. Well, no, let's don't play fill in the blank. This is a question that I've thought about a lot. Do wins this season equal success? Like if it's 7, is that a successful season? If it's 8, that's a successful season. Do wins equal success in year 2?
Yes, because if you don't win in year 2, given this schedule, that's probably an issue, right? Like this is a huge opportunity with the start that they have, the on-ramp to the season, the home games, who they miss in Big 12 scheduling. Like you got to win the games that are in front of you. And like, this is a big opportunity to not just get off the schneid, but to build momentum for recruiting, to instill belief in a fan base that this can happen, for Matt Rule to kind of keep with his, career trend of turning programs around in their second year. I think it's an interesting conversation too, Gary, because you do have those situations where maybe there are years where teams get better, but the schedule isn't maybe easy enough, and it doesn't get reflected in the win-loss record. I think this is a schedule that could maybe accentuate it a little more. Like if Nebraska wins 7 or 8 games, maybe they're actually not that much better, but the schedule helps make it look that way a little bit. So yeah, I think absolutely. If you fall short this year with the strength that you have on both lines, the experience you have in the trenches, with the schedule, the way that it lines up, with the guy that you have at defensive coordinator and all the rest, like I think it'd be a huge disappointment to not at least make a bowl game, play meaningful football into November. So yeah, I think that is the case, and really it's all a matter of perspective, right? Like you can look at this thing as a major opportunity, or you can look at this thing with some pressure too and say, man, you don't want to swing and miss at this thing because you're not going to get a better chance than what's coming up this season.
Okay, and I like the question that Gary asked, because I think it's people are going to say as simple as getting the wins, but I want to take this to just another part of, without divisions, we always look at Nebraska, and if they're in a position to beat the teams, or what we might chalk up as 50-50 games now, but these were games 5-6 years ago that we would say are wins. If you look at the Illinois of the world, if you look at the Purdue's of the world, if you look at the Northwesterns, and again, a lot of these teams in Nebraska's old division, is this an opportunity given largely in the first 7 games, but you do have a UCLA a little bit later on as well, that this is where you establish, I don't want to say forever, but this is a good opportunity where you're going to establish yourself in that Big Ten pecking order of the type of tier team you can be when it comes to the wins and against who that you have success against?
Yeah, because I think the format change that you lay out when you have no divisions, you're going to just a list of 18 teams. Like it's a chance to kind of reset perspective in a year when the format change is there. So like, you know, if you were in the old Big Ten West and you finish second or third, okay. I mean, that would be an improvement, but it wouldn't, I don't think, have the same impact as what could happen this year, where it's, you know, say Nebraska finishes, you know, sixth in the league. Like, it's a fresh look, or fresh maybe way to evaluate how the team's doing. And so if Nebraska indeed does take a jump this year, and it happens in that new format, I think that it leaves just maybe a more of a lasting impact, or more of a lasting impression on fans, on national media types. And like, that's going to be the new gauge. Like, again, you're not talking about finishing in the top half on one side, so you get 60 minutes to try to beat the East juggernaut. Like, it's all about, you know, CFP conversation. Are you in range for that? If you're not, you're talking about bowl games. You're talking about being in the upper half of the conference. So to me, that's kind of the opportunity that Nebraska has. And then you add in the 4 newcomers from the West Coast as well. And, you know, where do they fit in? Where does Nebraska fit in relative to them? Like, this is a chance to set the standard in a way it's a really rare opportunity, just given all the change that's going on. So that's kind of what I'd say. It kind of feels like maybe there's a little bit more value to a good year in that regard. But again, the flip side of the coin is true too. If you finish 12th or 13th or something like that, and you stumble, it's going to be kind of hard to, I think, shake off that initial impression as well as you move forward.
Hey, great stuff, Evan. We always appreciate the conversation. We got one more week. Next week, we're into talking season, then the season starts. Hope you enjoyed your off season.
It was great. It blinked and it was gone.
Enthusiastic there too.
Hey, thank you, Evan. Appreciate it.
See you guys.
That's Evan Bland from the World Herald. It's a deeper conversation about wins, because I can't get 16 out of my head.
Right. No, I see where you're going, and that's immediately what I thought of right there.
Better.
It's immediately what I thought of right there was 2016, where this is where I think the lesson of not all 7 or 8, or in this case 9-win seasons are created equal, to where how could you feel so flat after a 9-win season when that was the last time Nebraska went to a bowl game? But you could, and you could see the sign of things to come. There's that feeling that if you take advantage of, much like Nebraska in 2016, if you take advantage of the schedule that's there, but against those teams, especially the Wisconsins and Iowas of the world, especially Iowa's going to be a good team, USC on the road, like the challenges that are there, if you fail to show improvement in those types of games, how do you feel after a season where, you know, very well could lead to 8 wins, but you don't feel like you've gained any ground against those teams? I think it's a fair question. Absolutely.
I was looking up some stats last night. It is so wild that last year, Nebraska only scored 18 or more points 4 times.
Jesus.
Defense wasn't giving up 18 or more.
No.
Offense scored 18 points only 4 times. I got another stat for you. Jeff Sims had a little bit of trouble, right?
Oh, do we have to keep doing this?
143 snaps, 12 turnovers, 28 drives. Nearly 40% of those drives would end with a turnover.
God. Okay. Again, we're not asking for this.
So
groundbreaking offense.
This is maybe we'll get to this. We'll get to this before the week is over. The successful season comes down to what aspect? Y'all got different things.
Yeah.
We need to focus on the passing game. Just a better passing game. Simple, competent quarterback play, whether it be holding on to the football or just be able to make throws at all 3 levels and just make pitch and catch and a high completion percentage and be able to convert on 3rd down and 8. You're not like, oh God, we might have to run the football to get a first down. Right. You can throw the football. Think about that. That's for later in the week. When we come back, we'll put a wrap on this hour. Jacob Bigelow is around the corner. And with the home run derby tonight, I hope you guys have your favorite. We're going to play a different kind of home run derby. Really the home run derby that we all deserve. We'll play that with Jacob coming up after 9 on 1620 The Zone. Sorry to hit with you that right before we went back on air. Telling the truth.
I've heard swimming, but never that.
Telling jokes, laughing on a Monday.
Tyson Lewis, who we hope to talk to later this week from Millard West, just like Max Anderson last year from Detroit, or got drafted by Detroit, former Millard West product from Nebraska. Tyson Lewis goes 51st overall to the Cincinnati Reds. I was looking this up. I just tweeted it out. Mike Bovey. Remember him? Pride of Hastings?
Sure do.
He was the official scorer at Omaha men's basketball games.
Oh, yeah, that's what he did.
Him and Caleb Rydell would sweep the floor at volleyball matches.
You would see them on skates throwing shirts out during intermission at hockey games.
So Mike Bovey, the Mav, got drafted last year in the second round, 54th overall by Milwaukee.
Mm-hmm.
He is in Double-A right now. He started in rookie. I don't know why.
Yeah.
Then he moved up from rookie to A to high A to Double-A, hitting 326 in a year, 350 at-bats, 8 homers, 58 RBIs. I think you're going to see Mike Bovey playing in Milwaukee sooner than later.
Dude is he's like the hit doctor too.
Oh, just the swing.
Swing's pure. He's perfected the craft. I told you before, he reminded me so much of what Connor Gillespie did and put in all of that into that swing that when you hear it, you know who swung. You could literally have your back turned to what's going on, and as soon as you hear the ball come off the bat, you knew, oh, that's Bovey, or oh, that's Gillespie. Very, very distinct sound when you're just hitting it pure the way that those guys are.
So it became official the other day when Troy Dannon, in a conversation with Mitch Sherman, said, yes, Memorial Stadium's going to grass in 26.
Mm-hmm.
Has he made a comment about Memorial Stadium in 2024 being cashless?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
Should be.
A lot of other venues are.
I was going to say, everything else
Memorial Stadium in Lincoln is one of the now rare sports venues that are not cashless.
Kids with card readers.
Is PBA fully cashless now? Okay.
Mm-hmm. So I'm wondering if that is coming for this upcoming fall.
Followed by implementing taps.
I think we're a ways away from that because I think it's more logistic than anything.
Yeah.
It's not like they don't want to do it.
Right.
It's the logistics of the stadium is not built,
and that's why
for egress and all of
It makes more sense to implement that when you get some stadium renovations happening.
Trust me, there's revenue. They need revenue. There's revenue out there. It would be logistically right now.
Mm-hmm.
For a concert, you can pull it off.
Yeah,
and for volleyball day, but it was still kind of a hassle.
Yeah.
But in that stadium, it's already uncomfortable to sit and watch a football game.
And you're adding structure to it.
Well, and now you got to get in and out and wait and all that. Yeah. I didn't know if that's come up yet. 100% cashless.
Not that I've heard, no.
All right. Last hour upcoming. Jacob Bigelow is going to play the home run derby game that we all deserve. No offense to Alonzo Henderson, Witt Jr., Ozuna, okay? But this is the home run derby that we need tonight. We'll do that with Jacob coming up next on 1620 Zone. All right, time to welcome in our Monday friend. He is none other than Jacob Bigelow, who was out slapping hands, giving fist pumps, hanging out at Warner Park on Saturday night for the Bob Gibson bobblehead giveaway. Good morning.
Top of the morning, gentlemen. How are we doing today?
Good. I have seen that bobblehead. I heard it was a pretty cool giveaway the other night at Warner Park.
It was cool. One of the few guarantees left is that America loves them a bobblehead giveaway. Nothing quite brings people together like a bobblehead giveaway at the ballpark. And it was actually a pretty nice night at Warner Park the other night. And it was cool to get out there. I always like getting out there, and it had been far too long for me, so it was cool.
Did I see that right? Was it Chris Gibson, Bob's son?
Yeah,
that threw out the pitch. Yeah, I remember him at Bellevue East when he played, and great kid, just super nice, classy dude. Very cool moment.
Jacob, nice platform. 4 months of lunacy ahead, and you said, you know what? The bobblehead can bring us together. We might not hold hands, but if we have the bobblehead, which, by the way, did you guys realize who hit a home run early on Saturday?
Of that game?
I
No.
saw. Yeah.
So
I saw.
Saturday was a little rough because Dr. Ruth passed away.
Yep.
And then Richard Simmons passed away.
Yep.
Nick Castellanos hit a home run early in the day.
Ooh.
Yeah. On that,
there's a drive by Castellanos.
On that note, okay, this is the home run derby that we really deserve. Are you ready to play this game?
I'm slightly terrified, but yes, I'll play.
Okay, with all apologies to Jack Elliott and Clue Haywood.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to have to keep you out because I had to keep this to 4.
Mm-hmm.
Who wins a home run derby between these 4 and these 4 only in their prime? And one of them has to remain as a teenager in his prime.
Okay.
Pedro Serrano, Crash Davis, Roy Hobbs, or Kelly Leak. In their prime, who wins a home run derby between those 4?
That is quite the question. It's it's a good question. Who was the last option again? I heard the first.
The guy that's going to show up smoking cigarettes as a teenager and on his motorbike.
Yeah.
To come to the field, Kelly Leak.
Yep.
My kind of team, Charlie. It's my kind of team.
One bad home
run. Yeah, that's tough. I mean, I might lean. I mean, as long as Roy's got the bat. I mean, it's tough to pick against Roy, right? Like that's. I don't think anyone's going to be throwing curveballs to Serrano in a home run derby.
So no. Straight fastballs.
Yep.
That's why he's
this guy hits a ton. How come no one's picked up on him?
It's enough fastballs, Eddie.
Give him the off speed. No,
show him some breaking balls.
Yeah, show him some breaking balls. But yeah, I think I'd go toward Roy, but I honestly Serrano might be my second choice there. But that tells you how long it's been since I've watched any of those movies. But if I had to pick a major league character, it wouldn't be someone on the Indians. I'd take Parkman to win a home run derby just because he was, the ultimate Dean Blandino in those movies. But yeah, I think I'll default and go toward Roy.
Dean Blandino and Jack Parkman, huh?
Wow.
So I think you're half right because I think your finals would be Roy Hobbs, but I think you're going up against Kelly Leak. I think Kelly Leak in a home run derby format is going to have the endurance to
Rudy
probably
Stein
keep
pitching?
a consistent pace. Yeah, maybe has Rudy throwing some meatballs. Now, I do wonder if Eddie Harris is throwing some fastballs because we know the Eddie Harris fastball.
That KY ball.
Very, very hittable. But Roy Hobbs in his prime. So this is before the bullet pierces his abdomen. Roy Hobbs can't be beat. I mean, Roy Hobbs can set off a firework display with a bullet lodged in his abdomen, can do that without the bullet. I think Roy Hobbs is your runaway winner, but I think Kelly Leak is making it to the finals with that endurance. If you got to go a couple of rounds, the reason I rule out Crash Davis, guy's an overthinker. He just, one foul ball would get in his head and he'd probably keep overthinking it. So yeah, I'm ruling out Roy Hobbs. Or I'm sorry, I'm ruling out Crash Davis.
Yeah, no, I would tend to agree with you on all those assessments. As a fellow overthinker, I definitely agree with the Crash Davis overthinking assessment. I think he would definitely be in his head. But yeah, I would definitely agree with that assessment of our cast of characters for sure.
I'm going to stand up for Kelly Leak. Okay? I think there is some age bias here. Do you not understand that Kelly Leak, first of all, rode a Harley?
Yeah, he did. Dated 20-year-olds.
Smoked a cigarette. Also was proud enough to wear on the back of his jersey Chico's bail bonds. And in 1976, he actually hit 900 with 50 home runs and zero F's given.
Even when they try to pitch around him, damn near hit one out too.
I'm surprised the Yankees didn't try to sign him in 77.
I mean, he did reach across the plate and almost sent one out when they tried to intentionally walk him. Yeah. I mean, that's why I got him in the finals.
He was Albert Bell, ahead of his time.
He was Albert Bell.
Kind of had that mantra too, that I don't give a blank about anything.
Yes. All right. Thank you for playing along. Can we talk about Berke from Turkey playing in the FIBA? Is his game more internationally driven, that he'll be better what I'm watching this summer than he will this upcoming fall and winter?
It's tough to tell. He's playing right now, actually. If you go to the FIBA YouTube, if you're into that sort of sicko stuff on a Monday morning in the summer, you can go watch Turkey taking on Spain right now. But I haven't had the chance to watch at all. I'm meaning to go find some clips, but I mean, I think it's interesting with the international guys. But I mean, then you look back to last year's Nebraska team, and that was something Fred harped on. The international experience that Rink Mass had, that Kesey had, and they thought he thought it would be very translatable to playing in the college game. So I think everything I've heard about Berke is he's a really smart player. He's got high basketball IQ. He's just got to fine tune the shot, fine tune some of the intangibles. But I need to look into some clips, and maybe I'll catch the end of them taking on Spain this morning.
We talked to you last week, and then it was, I believe, Wednesday when the official non-con came out. You have to have a thought or two on that home slate that folks will be making their way to Pinnacle Bank Arena to watch, coming off of a NCAA tournament season.
Yeah, it's a home slate, that's for sure. There are games on the schedule. I don't know how I'd feel if I was a season ticket holder, that's for sure. I mean the thing though is it is kind of eerily similar to last year's slate. Obviously last year you have the Creighton game at home, and you have the road trip to Manhattan to finish that series with Kansas State. And obviously you're missing a prime opponent on the road or at home. You got aside from Creighton, which is every year, and then the neutral game in Sioux Falls, there isn't really much else going on there. The MTE field is at best. You got to probably really hope you end up seeing Loyola at some point. They'll probably be the highest rated opponent in that field. But yeah, when it comes to the games in Lincoln, it definitely definitely leaves a lot to be desired from a fan standpoint. But that's also you could also say it's a side effect of the fact that in the last couple of years the Big Ten ACC Challenge has gone away. The Gavitt games have gone away. Those used to be built-in ways to get a power conference opponent on the schedule, and now that those are gone and off to the side, it's you're kind of trying to stack wins if you're in a position like Nebraska. So there's two sides to it for sure, but it certainly leaves a lot to be desired.
Well, I think it's convenient that you'll be able to go to Jones Bros Cupcakes and get a pocket schedule for Nebraska basketball. I am going to give him possibly the benefit of the doubt here. Just looking at this schedule off of last year, does it seem to you that Nebraska thought that the Diamond Head Classic field would be stronger?
They might have, but I mean that the field in that tournament isn't usually very marquee. It's not like a lot of heavy hitters usually. I mean, I looked at the field last year, and it wasn't really all that awe-inspiring. I mean, I remember when Nebraska was in it 10 years ago with Miles, and that field wasn't really that impressive either. And it's a secondary tournament. I mean, it's in Hawaii over Christmas. It's not a feast week tournament, but
that might have been something that they thought, because I mean it's not all horrible teams. It's some solid mid majors, and but it's still it's just that solid mid majors, nothing better. So
Well, you've left I mean, this is a trend. This isn't just a Nebraska thing. This is a trend with teams that are in Nebraska's tier of how they're scheduling. It does leave you no margin for error.
Yeah.
I mean, you have to, last year, the one sneaky thing about last year's team is Nebraska really had no bad losses. They didn't
prolonged losses.
They didn't have the incarnate words.
Right.
Okay. They didn't have the Western Illinois. They were able to avoid those. If they can do that again, okay. But your margin for error in the non-con is very, very slim. That really, if you looked at their schedule, Jacob, the only acceptable loss would be November 22nd in Omaha.
yeah, I mean, I would tend to agree with you there, and it's going to be it's like I said, I mean, it's similar to last year. It leaves you little margin for error. It's also a very new team. They're looking to build chemistry, gel on the court, and have opportunities to learn how they fit outside of practice. And I mean, the only difference between this year and last year is they don't have a trip overseas, and even last year their trip overseas, they had more than half the team wasn't available, so it really probably wasn't all that beneficial in the long run. But it's eerily similar blueprint, and I know it's frustrating if you're a fan, especially if you're a season ticket holder. So, but I think if like you said, I mean, if they have double digit wins at the end of the non-con, and the one loss is to Creighton, then I think you've done your job.
I'm curious. We'll know this obviously as we get through, October, depending on where football is too. I know that always has something to do with it, but I remember 2014, 2015 coming off of that NCAA tournament team. You had Petaway back. You had Siobhan Shields back. I mean, you had your scoring back from that season. There was buzz. There was palpable buzz about that upcoming season and what Nebraska could see in that year, especially with Creighton down too. Do you anticipate a similar thing where there's going to be a lot of that anticipation, excitement, purely based on the fact that this is a team that ended their season in the NCAA tournament? Or do you think, given that you don't have Casey, Rink Mast is not going to be playing this year, a lot of the guys, you got Juwan Gary back. Obviously, this is a big year for Bryce Williams, but you don't have that scoring trio that you had in the previous NCAA tournament appearance. Is there going to be the same type of anticipation buzz for this team that there was then? Or is this still kind of we got to wait and see how this thing looks together again with some new faces and guys that are obviously going to have to contribute some big minutes for this team?
Yeah, it's kind of a cop-out answer, but I think it'll be a little bit of both. I think with the basketball diehards, I think there will be some anticipation. I think there'll be, there's, tangible momentum, coming off an NCAA tournament year, semifinals in the Big Ten tournament, top 4 in the conference. And, but then there's always going to be that skepticism of feels like it's a whole new team, the roster changes every year. And how do we even know these guys? And, that sort of thing. And, then there's just the Husker fans who will, they'll have interest if, there's a certain amount of wins. Maybe the first game they tune into is the Creighton game, the November 22nd. But I mean, it'll be a little bit of both, I think. But I think there'll be a little bit of anticipation, but there's definitely going to be the get to know you process.
Right.
The new guys. I don't know if they're going to be asking icebreakers like it's the first day of college. Nobody's going to be asking Raleigh Worcester for 2 truths and a lie. But the fan base needs to, get to know these guys, and I think they're, from early indications, I think they're gonna, I think it's gonna be another likable group. So I think it'll be a mixed bag of the two.
Did you play spin the bottle when you were younger?
It's been a long time, but back
you didn't
in the
used
day,
to get canceled.
Okay. I haven't heard that game mentioned before. 2 truths and a lie. We'll get you out on this because you and I have had a discussion that I think whether Rink Mast was coming back or not, this was before the Mast news, Wiltshire leaves, Lawrence leaves. I said that Nick Janowski needs to be a factor for Nebraska. Maybe not a number 1, option 2 or 3 as freshman, but Nebraska needs to have a freshman come in and hit the floor and work his way through the program where he's a 3+ guy. Can't always be 1 or 2 year guys. So, and I like him a lot. I think he is a great shooter from a fantastic high school program. Now that he's been on campus, one, Jacob, and you can agree or disagree, I think he's going to be a fan favorite. And also, I think this kid is wired differently. He just, listening to his interviews and hearing his teammates talk about him in a short amount of time that he's been in Lincoln, man, what do we have on our hands here in this kid?
I think we've got a player that, at least mantra-wise, I don't know if Nebraska basketball has had a player wired like Nick Janowski in quite some time. It appears he is a competitor of the highest order, a gym rat. All the cliches you could possibly say, but they're accurate. I mean, I'll give credit to Steve Marek from the Rival site. He talked to Nick's high school coach, and did a pretty good write up on Nick and how he's wired different. And Nick Janowski's high school coach, like you said, really good program up at Milwaukee, and he said that he tells people that he has never learned more about coaching than he did coaching Nick Janowski, and that says a lot about a high school kid who was played really, really well for the he was at shot it really well, and he's got a mantra similar to guys who, if they were on other teams in the Big Ten, Nebraska fans may not be the biggest fan of them. That they wouldn't exactly be liked if he was playing in Iowa City or Madison, Wisconsin, but he's a Husker and he's happy to be one, and I think I'd buy some stock in Nick Janowski, both in the short term, as a possible contributor this year, and most certainly in the long term, because I think he's going to be a pretty good college player.
Yep. He was an under the radar guy. I mean, Fred has had some success in Wisconsin. I mean, Iowa State lives up there, and Iowa State has a sharpshooter of their own from the same team. I love the kid. I think if they just let him play and he gets a little bit bigger and stronger and adjust to the speed, his shot. I mean, Casey was popular. Mm-hmm. This kid will be really popular if he has success, because he'll play into the crowd. I mean, PBA will love him.
Absolutely. No, I definitely agree. He's a different cat, but that's something that Nebraska definitely, the fans and the program will embrace with open arms.
Yep. Hey, thank you. Have a great week.
No, you guys too. Appreciate the time, like always.
That's Jacob Bigelow. Do you think that if he gets on a heater at the CHI, he blows a kiss to the crowd?
Yep. See, I'm just thinking about things you can do to rile up other fan bases. That would be the first thing. Or you just start looking at all of the high-end seats right there and you just smile at them. Maybe, or if it's starting to get to that 2 minutes at the end of the game, you start waving by.
He's a good player. He's a really good player that just needs to adjust to the speed and be able to get a shot off a little bit quicker. Speaking of blowing kisses to the crowd, Shireman did that the other day, playing for the Celtics. Boy, Trey Alexander, mid-range Trey looks pretty good.
Yeah, he had a stretch there, too.
He had 18 yesterday for the Nuggets.
DeMar DeRozan made a career out of that.
Is it Trey versus, or is it Baylor versus Bronny tonight? It's one of the two. I can't remember.
I was going to watch the home run derby, but now you said Bronny, and I'm like,
I mean, you have to, right?
Wait,
you've got to tune in.
The presenting network,
you've got to tune in for that.
You have to.
You have to. I'm just kidding.
I'll go out in the backyard and go 3 for 9 from the field and watch myself.
I think it's Trey. I think it's Trey and Bronny.
A better time, cheaper.
Trey v. Bronny. That's how it's being billed too. You're going to see advertisements all day for it.
All right. Maybe I'll watch
half of those.
I might watch the home run derby. It's Mornings with Sharp and Handley and Jimmy on 1620 The Zone. just because I wanted to amuse myself, I went to the.
I like where this is going.
Sorry, I'm going to let you down.
Damn it.
I went to the For You page on the X. Yeah.
You really did disappoint me.
Yeah. So the best and the brightest are over there again this morning. If you have any questions about going over to the For You, if you want to leave the following and go to the For You, just buckle up. Just prepare yourself accordingly.
Hey, I got one from you on the For You.
Yeah?
Yeah. You just talking about the Pick Six previews.
Oh, I got a little crossover. Yeah.
So no big deal.
Nice. Our good friend, he'll be on a little bit later this week, Brett Ciancia. His Pick Six preview for this upcoming year is live. You can order it through his website, Our Friday Friend. Very excited. We're going to have to talk about Miami. Why do people just give Miami a pass like Cristobal will be fine this year? I'm starting to see Miami in a lot of 12-team playoffs. Like even he's got them winning the ACC. I might have to have some speaks with my Philadelphia friend.
They won't even be the best team in Florida.
Like, is this the year that Mario Cristobal turns the corner? Now, if he ever does, it's scary.
Yes.
The way they recruit. But boy, Miami gets mentioned, and I find people that don't even like hesitate. I don't know. He's got Georgia, Ohio State, Utah, Miami as the 4 Power Fours.
Oh.
He's got 3 Big Ten teams. He's got 4 SEC. Boise State, Texas, Florida State, Ole Miss, Alabama, Oregon, Penn State, Notre Dame.
I will admit, because when he first came out of Incarnate Word and Cam Ward, I was always very fascinated by his numbers, and from Washington State now go to Miami. So as far as your trigger man, and it has nothing to do with the fact that he was calling out Shedeur Sanders the other day. I am intrigued of Cam Ward in Miami. Now, I've never put Miami into the conversation of the college football playoff because, again, I know that they've had more recent seasons of getting to bowl games in Nebraska, but I still feel like they are in that similar narrative of we'll believe it when we see it. And they do. They recruit fine, but it's the whole part of it all coming together on the field to match, whether we're talking about transfers or recruiting, of what they've been able to put out. They're to me like Nebraska. I'm not buying into that until I actually see a little proof of overachieving. That's the best way to say for Miami to do that. It'd be a major overachievement. I don't know under Mario Cristobal with this program right now if you can trust them. There's the word, trust. Like, can you trust Nebraska? Well, you're gonna have to prove that before you start putting some more trust in them in the offseason. I'm the same way with Miami right now.
So Miami's quarterback is better.
Yeah.
I mean, they definitely upgraded quarterback.
Yeah, I like Cam Ward.
Problem is they do turn it over a lot. They turned it over 22 times last year. They had a couple of, I mean, North Carolina, they turned it over 4 times. North Carolina State, they turned it over 4 times. The 5th was the all-timer in the collapse against Georgia Tech. How about this stat for you? Kind of on your heels of, throwing Miami and Nebraska together. Since the middle of 2017, Miami is 0-20 when they turn it over 3 times or more.
Oh. Yeah, that's relatable.
This season has to be for Miami, they have to beat Florida State. They haven't beaten Florida State since 2020. And now last year they were tied deep into the third quarter and lost the game.
Feels weird hearing you say that. I was like, wait, Miami used to beat Florida State all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Miami needs to start winning at home.
Yeah.
But I think Miami is going to be better. Their win total is way up there. But I'm in the, prove it.
Yeah.
I got to see it.
Yeah.
Prove it until I'll believe. But there's no, if you look at their schedule, there's no likely losses. No sure thing losses on their schedule.
Mm-hmm.
They got a likely win, Florida A&M. The rest of the season is a 50-50 game. They open at Florida when it's going to be god-awful hot. The opener in Gainesville. That's huge. But the schedule is pretty manageable. But talk to me if they don't beat Florida State on October 26th.
I mean, best season under Mario Cristobal last year, 7 wins. Yeah, again, I think that's why I compared the two, Nebraska and Miami, records aside, but going back to trust. Do you trust Miami? Do you trust, however they're to be projected, if they find themselves in a top 25, can they overachieve that? If they're on the outside looking at a top 25 where you're thinking, okay, they can finish in the top few of the ACC, can they overachieve that? That's the thing about Miami, is what I would compare to Nebraska, is whatever the expectation has been, neither program has either achieved or overachieved really in the last decade.
We'll get Brett's reasoning why he's so high on Miami. Might be, and there's a lot of this going on. This was mentioned earlier in the show about Nebraska's schedule. Look at Mizzou's schedule. Miami doesn't have Clemson on it. They miss North Carolina. They miss North Carolina State. That's a big deal.
Yep.
That's why probably Miami is looking at a successful season would be 9 wins.
Mm-hmm.
But you also have the misfires that have happened early on in the Cristobal era. He had the same thing at Oregon. The guy can recruit. And you can recruit to South Florida. You can recruit to Eugene, Oregon. But what about when they put time on the clock and they keep score?
Right.
If they can ever mesh getting away from the turnovers and the misfires that are like, Jesus, that Georgia Tech thing just happened.
Mm-hmm.
And they've got the personnel. If they can ever put those together, I mean, there's a lot to like about what this year's team can do. But Miami's being mentioned a lot. I don't hear anybody going, one moment now. But Brett will join us later in the week to discuss that.
I do wonder, because remember, Nebraska was starting to get this a little bit early under Frost, but also mid-late Bo Pelini when it came to stronger teams. And I don't even want to compare the two with the way that they recruit, because if you're looking at what Miami is able to do from a recruiting standpoint, and then, of course, we know how aggressive they were when it came to the transfer portal and their collective, as shady as it might have been. I wouldn't even put the rosters side by side and make this comparison, but I always felt like there was this part of Nebraska of the turnovers. There's a great example of, there's no way that can happen again, right? So they got to be better. You could come off of a 5-win season and look at that number and say, there's no way that can happen again, or the luck and the bounces are going to go their way the following year. So you know what? Yeah, I'm going to go and take a flyer on them. I'm going to put them in an 8-win to 9-win season. I wonder, even on a smaller sample size than Mario Cristobal at Miami, of the recruiting aspect of it, of at some point they're just going to recruit enough talent and they've got a good enough quarterback that even Mario Cristobal can't hurt them.
Well, I don't know. Might be a Miami thing. Miami and Nebraska might have to shake hands. The old meme. So Miami won 10 or more games 14 times over a 21-year stretch from 83 to 03. Now, they've been in the ACC for 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know how many 10-win seasons and ACC title appearances they have in their 20 years in the ACC?
10-win seasons or just ACC, or both? You're talking about both?
10-win season.
Okay.
And a ACC title appearance. They both happened in the same year. Now, I just gave it away.
No.
Was that
one time?
I said it before.
One time in 2017.
Yeah.
Now, the first Mark 2
Richt.
years in the ACC, Larry Coker went 9-3.
Mm-hmm.
And then he went 7-6, and it was,
you're
in a gots-to-go situation. But here's the crazy thing about Miami that has not been the same. Larry Coker still has 2 of the program's 6 9 or more win seasons with Miami as an ACC school. So a lot of similarities in programs that were great in the 80s and 90s. You go Larry Coker, Randy Shannon, Al Golden, Mark Richt. He was good in 3 seasons, but not Miami standards. Manny Diaz struggled. Mario Cristobal is 12-13 in 2 seasons.
Mm-hmm. And don't we still put the Larry Coker short stint, at least the highest of highs, the national championship, and then, of course, the following season where they fall just short? Don't we still put that on Butch Davis's tab? I mean, that's what he recruited. That's how they kept everything together, is by going with Larry Coker and not. Remember, there was the rumor, because you had I'm totally forgetting her name, the president that came over from Wisconsin,
Donna Shalala.
That there was talk that they were maybe interested in trying to get Barry Alvarez over to Miami.
So it's tougher at Miami than Florida State, Texas, and Michigan to revive a program.
Totally agree.
But why? Okay, so that's true. We're in agreement here.
Yeah.
But why do you think it is?
I think of the constant support that those schools have and their football program has.
That's a little bit. And on the heels of that, this is where it's amazing the run that Miami had, from Schnellenberger to, all the great coaches, Jimmy and Butch, and then
Dennis
the talent
Erickson.
that was given to Larry Coker.
UM's a tough school to get into, too.
Miami is a small private school.
Right.
Trying to revive Miami football is more like trying to crank up Syracuse than Florida.
Yeah.
Yeah. Miami is not very large. It's expensive to get into. It is just a small private school that had an unbelievable run of football. And they keep trying to get it back. Even their fans, the few of them, aren't thinking the days of the U. They just want to win 8-9 football games and win the ACC. And outside of 1 year, they haven't held up their bargain. They're under the bargain. 2017, that's crazy. 2017 is the only time since they've been in the ACC that they won 10 games and went to the title game.
$100,000 to go for a year. It was $40 when I was in high school, and I was getting things from Miami to go there.
Wow. Oh,
I believe it. I totally believe
beautiful
it.
campus.
It is.
South of downtown, but it's small. There's two things. One, it makes you appreciate, damn, they went all in on football, and they were at a 6,000 student school just killing it. Two, oh boy, now how are we going to do this compared to Florida State, Texas, Florida, Michigan, those kind of schools?
Well, and is there still, I don't know if this is still the case now, and I'm sure you were inundated with this when you were living out in Florida. I know there was a lot of, this was more of a Jimmy Johnson part of it. And I think to an extent, Larry Coker, and then of course the Nevin Shapiro thing happened. But is there a lot of the establishment versus the coaches or versus the program type of feel where you're trying to not only fight what you have on the schedule, but you also have people maybe in the president's chair, maybe in certain occasions the athletic director chair, that are more about image as opposed to the wins and how the team looks, or have we moved on from that?
No, they went through a stretch where they were back to academics.
Right.
And it's a good academic school.
Yeah.
But, when the coolest college football program ever, when it was rocking and rolling, now it's wild to say that Wake Forest has been on a better run than Miami football. And they know what it's like to win an ACC championship.
Yeah.
We'll see. This is a very interesting year.
Yeah.
In Coral Gables, but Brett Ciancia loves him. He's got him in the playoff and being one of the top four. ACC media days are next week. SEC media days are going on
today.
All I see is Saban. Everybody's just talking to Saban and Feinberg.
Well, yeah, because
some things never change.
Sankey's supposed to be talking, I think,
it's about 10:40.
Okay, and then we roll into coaches, and then we wrap that thing up on Thursday.
All righty. Just means more.
4-day event.
And then next week, Big Ten will open up and go, we just have more revenue. Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone. Hey, I think I've asked this question before, like exactly what Nick's going to tell you. And he's going to answer my question.
What do you want to know about the zone deal this week? Yeah, because it's Le Voltaire, which is
Ooh.
locally owned French restaurant serving the
Hello.
Omaha community for 22 years.
Sounds like a good date night.
Yeah, unpretentious down-home cooking, serving classic French dishes, handcrafted cocktails, and more with this week's deal. You can get two $25 vouchers, $50 value, Gary, for only $25. On sale this Friday, though, so you got to wait till Friday.
Okay.
Damn it. The video game and Le Voltaire.
Yep, and Le Voltaire.
People are losing their mind if they're watching the FIBA. Berkey is apparently playing really well.
Yeah.
Back the guy. This is from correspondent Jacob. So just backed the guy down from the three-point line, turned around and dunked on him.
At the three-point line back. Damn. Covering some ground there, Bear K.
Who needs
Go win the Big Ten
Who
next
needs
year.
a tough non-conference schedule? Just give me a little birthday.
Undefeated.
Better game.
I've probably asked this question on the show before, but I was watching sports yesterday.
Tonight on sports.
I want to get into conversation with you guys about sports.
Does the spray that they use on the soccer players that go down, like Messi injured his ankle early before he eventually left. So they come out with the spray. Like instead of like you see a lot of our trainers, they'll come out on the field and they'll like work on their ankle.
Yeah.
They just like the assistant guy just pulls out the spray.
This was in Miami, right?
Yeah, but they also,
Could've
I
been
saw
off.
this when Spain, I don't think it was off.
The skeeter got me, coach.
Spain and England, there was a Spaniard that went down and they came running out on the pitch and they sprayed it on him. I need to get that. Like,
is it some type of freeze or something?
I think that's what it is.
Yeah.
But for everybody that's working around the house and you got like a back injury, where can we get the spray that the soccer teams use?
But you can't do it yourself. When it happens to you, someone's got to run out and do it for you.
Trainers in baseball used to have it, and there was a trainer by the name of Mickey Cobb. He has since passed with the Royals, but they would always make him wear those blue like Tom Osborne pants.
Yeah,
the coaching pants.
Oh yeah, coaching pants.
So Mickey Cobb would come out on the field, and he would spray like freeze on a player's injury, and then he'd run back into the dugout.
Something like that.
I'm like, I'd like to have that.
Yep, just.
But but the stuff they use for the soccer players, is that readily available? Like, could I go to, and I don't even know if, they're closing CVS's and Walgreens around so much. Can I go to one of those and get the spray that they use on the international soccer players? Because it looked like it worked.
Well,
Messi got up and was, his ankle was still attached.
And then you saw his ankle and you wondered how that was possible. Well, I don't know. I bet you anything, though, you can find it on Amazon. And Prime Day start tomorrow. So you're in luck.
Whoa.
Trust me, I keep getting notifications.
Prime Day's beginning
not
tomorrow.
an ad.
No.
Right.
Just trying to get you a good
Megan
deal.
the Stallion has told us.
The home run derby, which Kelly Leak would win. Rio home run.
No.
I got Serrano.
Roy Hobbs in his prime? Are you crazy? Roy Hobbs in his prime. I don't think he hit anything but home runs.
Crash Davis gets no love in this conversation.
He's an overthinker. I want to put Crash Davis is who I would root for.
All fastballs. It's Pedro Serrano.
I think, but Serrano, big-bodied guy like that, I think runs down. I think he wears down. I think it's Roy Hobbs.
Okay, so pitchers are the new rules. Pitchers have to be accurate because they get a certain amount of pitches.
Yep.
And they're not doing it's like the leaderboard. So one round to the next. It's not like Bohm against Alonso.
Yeah.
Do we have a favorite? Are we going with the local guy? Alec?
I want to.
Alec representing Roncalli. Alec Bohm.
Terrific.
What a
concession
great
stand.
48 hours for Alec Bohm, by the way, though.
Yeah.
Going to be in the home run derby. Going to be a starter tomorrow. That's pretty damn
What will
good.
mean more to him? The home run derby at Warner Park in 2015 or the Major League Baseball home run derby in 2024?
That's pretty sweet, though, when you are a high school kid getting ready to go to college.
With AAA guys?
Yeah. And you're that had to be pretty amazing. I'm gonna go with Gunnar Henderson.
All right. 28 home runs on the year.
Yeah.
I'll go with Bobby Witt.
Hometown guy?
Just because hometown guy.
I like it.
Watch, it'll
You
be
got-
none of those. It'll be
Oh, you
Alonso.
already said.
Ozuna
You're
and
going
Witt
Ozuna.
Jr. will be the final.
Okay. In case you're wondering, from a wagering perspective, Pete Alonso plus 280.
That's not his weight.
Bobby Witt's plus 425. Gunnar Henderson plus 475. Ozuna plus 475. Teoscar, Jose, and Alec Bohm are your value picks. If
Back,
you
back,
would.
back, 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 back. Does this thing, does it still go to like 10:30?
No, it's
they changed the rules.
And this,
Okay.
and
That's
this
what I
year
was
it
trying
will
to
be a
figure
little
out.
bit faster. Too.
Colin says the spray is fake, goes with the fake injuries from the floppers on the pitch.
You know when you run out of maybe sunscreen or something, and you're just spraying air, and that's all it is. I do wonder though on the injuries that they know are fake if they bring out the actual full can, or if they bring out the fake can, because you don't want to spray anything on a fake injury.
Matt says, "Hello, my son plays soccer in Switzerland."
Oh my gosh!
And that freeze spray is out every game.
Fremont.
They swear by it since they can't go to the doctor.
So they just have to use that.
Well, healthcare isn't the same in every
It was
country.
like the magic potion. Trainer comes out there, and the
bone could be broken. All of a sudden, it just magically joins back up.
Put some ice on it.
All right.
That's amazing.
Enjoy the home run derby. We'll talk more Major League Baseball tomorrow. We'll
That
talk
was fun.
SEC Media Days. Plus, we have some things left over from the weekend in sports. And this was fun. This was fun to talk for a little respite. Everything that's going on. And also, I have an incident at my house.
That doesn't involve the AC?
No. I'm going to make
it wasn't on.
Hey.
Can I get a photo today?
To y'all, I've made it through the 3 days of swampiness.
You got one more day today.
Oh,
It'll be over by tonight.
I won't be home very much today, so
okay.
But it'll be fine.
Okay.
Be good. I made it.
Wow. Look at you doing your victory dance already. One more day.
I made it. 86 degrees in my house.
What if your fan craps out?
Oh, then I'm going to check into a hotel.
and still not
for
put
Nick,
on the
for Jimmy,
AC.
I'm Gary. We'll talk to you tomorrow at 6. Crossovers next.